All right, and welcome back, folks, to another fantastic episode of whatever this is. Mikey and I are chilling. We've been talking. Today's been a big day, and I'm sure we'll get into it all. But initially, we were going to just record a conversation about Sinthome, and kind of talking about that. There's some cool stuff coming up. So we were thinking, well, let's have a conversation about this. It's relevant. It'll be convenient for the algorithm to have a conversation about the kind of late Lacan and moving into the symposium that's coming up and all that stuff. But then a bunch of other stuff came up today. And so we're kind of just going to go. Maybe it'll be a little loose, like the weekend update episode was, but also I do think there's a few things that we want to have some focused discussion on as well.
Yeah,
and we
agreed.
Yeah, and that's what we were just talking about before we hit record. So I don't know, how do we want to kick it off? Do we want to?
Well, I mean, let the elephant in the room is. The Charlie Kirk thing.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, the question is, what does Lacanian Zizek'ian theory, since that's what we were going to talk about tonight, does it have anything to say about this? I think it does. People can say, well, you shouldn't do theory right after something like this happens. I kind of think that's the time to do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's disrespectful to try to think through what happened.
No, I think if anything, it's being more of a human to try to actually sit and kind of navigate your way through it rather than just grabbing a headline and saying, this is how I feel. Because again, in the world we live in today, something like this happens. You don't really contemplate. You don't mull it over. You don't think about it. You don't reflect. You turn on, just like I did. I went to YouTube and I went to the internet and I was looking at the coverage, but I was also looking at the news. And I think it's important to resist the impulse to let that kind of that news headline or that, influencer's commentary or whatever concretize and kind of become your own. I think it matters to really think and really kind of dwell and tarry with it, because it's complex. And it's very disheartening. I think for me, the most disheartening thing, I don't even know if I would say the most disheartening thing. I think the most pressing thing is how I've seen a sizable amount of quote unquote the online left reacting and kind of taking up a celebratory position. It's fucking gross, man. Like the guy sucked, but like, come on, man. It like we were talking off air, doing this 1-to-1 substantialization thing where you're doing a totalization of, like, is Charlie Kirk a person separate from his words and like the ripple effects of his words and this and that. And I think the human answer to that is yes, of course. He is a person. Yes, of course. He did have real embodied relationships with his wife and his children. And I don't want to do the pearl clutch thing. It's not that it's such a sad thing. I don't care. I've suffered loss. I've suffered a lot of bullshit in my life. It sucks, but it's an individual thing. So I don't think thoughts and prayers make a fucking difference. I'm not offering thoughts and prayers. But I'm saying, let's not be gross and let's not perform this like vaudevillian caricature of the amoral left, because that's what they make the left out to be, is this amoral, monstrous, violent thing. and they substantialize and they totalize the violent left. Let's not do that. Let's not do it publicly because it's bad for having conversations with people in real life. If you want to say like, oh yeah, I'm some kind of leftist, and this, oh, that's gross. You guys are the party of violence. But it's also gross to get in the habit of doing that. Like, just come on, be a fucking human, calm down, take a few minutes, and separate the human from the object, because that's what Charlie Kirk is politically. He's an object, and he's a very useful object politically for the Trump administration and for reactionary sentiment, reactionary currents. And that's, fine. It is what it is. But I think it's dehumanizing to interact with another human being at the level of the object. Like, no, I'm still a human and I can still be sad. Like, isn't the point of advocating for gun control and gun regulation so fewer people are murdered senselessly? This is another example of a pretty senseless murder. So why are we celebrating the antithesis of a large part of leftist activism? I don't know. It's crazy.
Oh, well, they're going to do he advocated, they've already started sharing the quotes of him talking about, like,
you got to pay the price.
You got to pay. Yeah. That quote. And, I'm just like, look, the vast majority of normies just see you making fun of a husband and father,
a 31-year-old
who's got gunned down. And the vast majority of the people in this society are going to have some sort of feeling of sadness that this happened to this guy.
Yeah.
I think they would feel that way, the vast majority, for, your average leftist.
Yeah.
Or Democrat politician. I think the average person would feel terrible if they heard, oh, this thing happened to Gavin Newsom or whatever, right? Like, that's what your average person does. So if they see somebody, and there's been stuff when people, who's the Democrat lady who got
Gabby
shot
Giffords in fucking Arizona? Yeah.
And trust me, I saw plenty of people on the right.
Yep.
Doing their little celebration.
Yep.
Just like I saw people on the left doing their celebration today.
Yep.
And the vast majority of the other people in your society think both of those acts, are disgusting.
The Minnesota shooting that just happened, a couple months ago? Like, I think the public sentiment was abhorred, and the public sentiment was like, this is a travesty. Now, the political apparatus and the media machine kind of controlled the narrative and took it and went and did what it did. And like, I'm sure people will be talking about Charlie Kirk for far longer than they talked about the Democratic lawmakers that were murdered in Minnesota. Yeah. But like when it initially happened, the general public, like the people who we should be concerned about, were like, this is a horrible, terrible, no good, very bad thing. And I think the overwhelming majority of people react that way anytime a life is taken. Yeah. And then the political machine and the media machine comes around and they do the things. And yes, we can all agree that the right has a very callous yet very effective machinery around these tragic events. There was while the university,
the left has a callous and ineffective.
There we go. There we fucking go. And that's it. And for you to identify, like, oh, this is red team, blue team, like, it's fucking gross. It's dehumanizing. I also think it's crazy that while the shit was going on in Utah, there was a fucking shooting in a high school in Colorado. And
my best friend's son happens to be friends with a girl who was at that school and had to run out of the school and hide in somebody's garage down the street.
Yeah, dude. Like, these are tragedies. They should never be celebrated, even if it's politically efficacious, or even if it would be, politically advantageous, or even if you just want to blow off some steam. Find a more human way to blow off some fucking steam.
Because they create cyber positive feedback loops of violence where people on both sides get hurt.
Yeah.
That's the fucking problem.
Yeah, dude.
And so what you're celebrating today, you're gonna be mourning 3 months from now when something happens on the other side. Like, and this kind of cyber positive amplification of violence is rooted in thinking the other side has stolen your jouissance, stolen your enjoyment.
Yep.
And and that's why you can substantialize them. You think that they're the full subjects of enjoyment that are full and made whole because they have some access to enjoyment that you don't have. And both fucking sides do this to each other. And that's why I've just fucking libidinally withdrawn from the culture war.
Yeah.
I would prefer not to when it comes to the duopoly. And I'm sorry, like, working with the people I work with, half of them will vote Republican, half of them vote Democrat. They're all fucking human beings, and they're all trying to fucking get through life the best they can. None of them are fucking monsters. None of them are fucking evil. Are they all what? They like, I just feel weird having to say that. Like, why? Like, what the fuck is so wrong in society when I even have to say, you know, they're just fucking people trying to live their fucking life and they see things from a different angle. Like, I never see things typically from a rightist angle. I don't. Yeah. I don't see it from what the actually existing left is either. Are my principles leftist? I guess. But whatever they are for me, I'm just so withdrawn from the culture war divide at this point that I'm just like, I'm not invested in either side. Like, either side is going to save my life or help me in any way, shape, or form. But the point is that has to do with the politicians and their relations to capital and the media and the system. The average person on either side of this is a decent person. And if somebody wants to get mad at me because I think the average person on both sides are relatively a decent person, well, then get fucking mad. I don't care. Because I work with these people, and they are all just decent people trying to make a fucking living.
I don't know if there are real people who would or do get mad at that sentiment. And I think
culture war bots get mad.
Yeah, and it's
scripts get mad.
Yeah, it's like there are people. Obviously, there are people who get mad and get offended and go to the internet and scream at the top of their lungs and do all that stuff. But it's, I don't know, it's like we don't have time to do all that shit, dude. And like most people don't. Most people are working, trying to raise their family, trying to pursue their fucking passions, like trying to do all these things in the actual physical world. And then there are some people who are just wrapped up in the optics and the politics and the identity categories of it all. And those are the people on the internet. Those are the people who are like chirping. And so it seems like there's this ongoing vitriolic, very violent, very robust counter culture war thing going on. But at the end of the day, no, I think the overwhelming majority of the people, like, I have to explain shit from the internet to everyone I talk to who isn't on the internet. And I don't talk to a whole lot of people, but the people in real life that I do talk to, like, I will always constantly forget that, like, oh, I occupy a space on the internet and I pay attention to a space on the internet that is disconnected from reality in a very concrete way. The overwhelming majority of people out there working, out there raising their families, out there like just trying to live their life, have no idea and couldn't care less. I was just watching the Hunger Games last night with my kid. We watched we did a marathon over the last week. We watched
watched all 4 of them.
Yeah. And like at the end of part 4, the bad lady is like trying to install herself as the new fucking dictator. And she's like, we're going to have a Hunger Games with their kids. And like, it was like, what the fuck? And then the one guy, like the nerdy science guy who I like, he's my favorite character. He's like, we have to stop viewing each other as enemies. And I was like, yeah, dude, that's cool. I'm glad that that's in this young adult like youth fiction dystopian story that's aimed at young people, and it's presented in a way that some people might think is campy or whatever. I don't give a shit. I was watching it with my fucking kid, and I'm happy that it was injected into this thing. You could also talk about like Israel Palestine, like that's this ongoing process. Okay, I don't want to talk about Israel Palestine, but I also think it's important to keep up like a lot of the people who are just content with the maybe mainstream, I don't even know if it's mainstream anymore, but the pretty popular liberal narrative of like, well, doesn't Israel have a right to exist? First of all, I think that's an absurd question, because I don't know what you mean by that. Like, what are you saying? Do Jewish people have a right to exist? Again, that's absurd, because what do you mean by right? But like, yes, of course, Jewish people have a right to exist. But what do you mean? Does the state of Israel have a right to exist? I don't know if I believe that states have rights. But like, it's very popular for people to just think that like Israel is there to protect people who fled the Holocaust because they were the victims of the scapegoating and this otherizing and this totalization. But what's really going on is far more complex, and they take advantage of this like victim perpetrator narrative. But I think maybe that's less popular now. I think maybe because of the internet, people are actually seeing a lot more of what's actually happening in Gaza. But I think it's also true that there's probably a lot of young people who are in danger of getting carried away and maybe conflating just people living in Israel with the state of Israel itself and the actions of the state of Israel. And that's a very dangerous thing. We shouldn't conflate the people with the state. Okay, you're back. You were gone for a second.
Yep, sorry. Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, this is why, I guess I'm some kind of cultural theorist. I guess I never feel comfortable doing global politics.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm too American. And I don't mean that like pridefully. I mean, trying to talk about anything out, like it's hard enough for me to figure out what I think is going on with America.
Mm-hmm.
When I say I'm too American, I feel like I don't like, I've said this before, I think on stream, where I'm like, these other places, whether it's China or whether it's Australia or wherever, they might as well be Middle Earth in some, like, I know they're real, of
Mm-hmm.
course, but they're so detached from my everyday, and that's the thing. Like, I think this is true for a lot of Americans, where the only place that's real to them is America.
Yeah.
And trying to weigh in on these situations that have so much history and there's been so much political context, I just always go, I mean, yeah, in some naive sense, I always just want the best for people,
But
basically on all sides of,
Can't we want that? Like, is it like it's people are weird about that? Like, no, I should be able to say, I just want what's best for everyone. I have my life to figure out. I have to figure out my rent. My rent just fucking went up. The last time you and I talked about it recently, and then it went up after that. So now my rent is just like some insane shit. Like, we're running out of water. Got to pay the bills. Insurance keeps going up. The electricity bill is going up by like 16%, which is a lot. Like, it's the annual fucking electricity rates going up by a fucking, like, things are just continuing to get worse, and everyone is in this boat. Can't we allow people to focus on their Umwelt, like the world that they live in, their daily lived experience? Isn't it okay to allow people to focus on that? But it's weird because people are like, no, silence is violence. It's like, well,
and if you don't say the right thing, if you don't make the right posts on social media, then you're a piece of shit. And it's like, when you tell working class people that, especially when this kind of shame and guilt, which is very super egoic when it's used, Uh, it's always hurled at your, working class people and shit. And I'm just like, they don't have the time or energy to, oh no, but you have to like, this is where, especially if it's a leftist activist type doing this, you just lose people.
Yeah.
Like, okay, maybe you'll shame them in the moment, but what they won't do is have anything to do with you from then on. They'll go, "Oh, that's not somebody I want in my life." They'll tune you out. And then anybody who has any political views akin to yours, they're going to tune that person out too. So,
Yep.
I don't know, man. It just is, it's everything I see the left do, the actually existing left, is some self defeating, make sure some kind of, large leftist movement just can't get up and running.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, we were talking a little bit about that before we started recording too, where it does seem to be the case with a lot of avowed Marxists. They think the answer lies in Marxism. They're convinced of the historical necessity. Well, maybe not even the historical necessity. They're convinced of the.
They just think that the answer is in Marxism, the Marxist tradition, in some way, shape, or form. That the classic canon of Marxist texts has in it somewhere some configuration of the answer to our global
current
economic
predicament.
Crisis.
Yeah,
and you and I don't think that. We don't think we can think our situation or even begin to think our situation without Marx.
Correct.
But that's not the same thing.
Correct. No, I think Marx was right about everything. Maybe not everything, but yeah, Marx was right in his time. And I would even say Marx was prescient. Like I would say Marx saw the future. He saw the immediate future. And Marxism kind of took that and stagnated, and we've gone like 150 years since that was appropriate for the time. And now we live in a new world where being a human is different. It means something different to be a human today in 2025 than it did in the 1870s or in the 1890s or in the 1910s. And we need to reckon with that. We can't just sit around and read books and have reading groups and have discussions and then go out and try to organize the workers. First of all, the working class, during like rapid industrialization, the working class was welded together into one unitary body that was very homogenous, that was very powerful. And now the world we live in, we've been atomized. We've been shattered into 8 billion different little pieces. And you can't organize. We don't have the same needs from 130 years ago. We don't have the same needs from one to the other even. Like we are living in the fucking future.
And you have the people who act like generational identity. Oh, well, actually, we're all wage laborers and we're all exploited by capital. So there's this. Okay, true.
Yep.
Don't deny the extreme differences.
Yep.
Though that are there in generational identity either.
Yep.
And if you do try to ignore them and just go, no, everybody's just a wage laborer being exploited, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Because you're not speaking anybody's language.
Well, then you're totalizing and you're reducing me down to a function rather than
be proletariat.
Right. And that's I don't think that was in Marx. I think that came out of Marxism. Like I think Marx had no choice but to be reductive and like he was doing an analysis and he was trying to describe what's going on and this and that. And then from there, when it became a political thing, people thought, oh yeah, it's all just functional. It's all historically necessary. It'll be okay. We'll figure it out. Don't worry. All we have to do is rise up and then we can have, fully automated luxury space communism, which would be fucking cool. I would love that. I fucking love Star Trek: The Next Generation. It's my fantasy. but it's never going to happen, and it will never come on the back of a proletarian uprising. And I don't know. Like in some ways.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna, in some ways, we do live in the world of Star Trek already, with the way we are a global civilization. Now, of course, we still have America and England and Russia. Like, we still have these old vestiges of modernity, but functionally, we are global citizens, and we are part of like a Earth. Like we have no choice but to see ourselves as members of Earth, rather than, oh, I'm an American, and oh, that guy's a Russian, and like we don't think that way anymore. I think nationalists and regressive policies and movements try to reclaim that, but I think even they don't feel that. That's why you have guys from fucking Poland and Venezuela and India working with guys from Canada and America. Like, everyone has globalized. Everyone has become a cosmopolitan.
You know what I'm tired of, Nance?
Many
Tired
things.
of hearing Marxists talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, so like, okay, what do I mean? I'm not tired of hearing Deleuze-Guattarians talk. I'm not tired of hearing Lacanians or Zizek'ians or Heideggerians or Levinasians or Kierkegaardians. I'm not tired of hearing them talk and think. I'm tired of hearing Marxists talk and think.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when does something happen? Because here's the thing, like this unique thing. Look, and there's a way. I mean, on the right day, like you and I would go, "Oh, we're Marxists." Like, but depending on context, but we're not Marxists like other theorists.
Yeah,
are Marxists, and like the Marxists. I just always want to go. The whole thing of like, philosophers have hitherto only interpreted the world. The point is to change it. Are you guys going to do anything?
No.
Like, because Levinasians and Derridians, like, they don't really have this baked into their position. Like, they have to go do things.
Yeah.
Practically to change the very structure. Like, I like hearing Marxists go on about, was Lenin right, or was this way, and how to praxis, and how to, I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk for a second, not as a fucking theorist, but just as a dude who works in a warehouse. All right, you guys are you're the team of make things better for dudes in warehouses. When is that going to begin? Because I'd like to know. Can I set my alarm?
Yeah, dude, wake
me up. For when you guys are going to make things better for me.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that's in the immediate future. So and then what's the plan? What exactly is the plan to make things better for me? I don't, and again, I am speaking me, like, just as a worker. Well, it's not to make things better for you. It's to make things better for the working class. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let me know when things start improving for this class that I'm a part of.
Yeah, you
based
just
on what you
reduced
guys
me.
Are doing.
You just reduced me to this class. So wouldn't it follow that if the goal is to make things better for the class, it would make things better for me? Oh,
a class I don't want to be a part of anyway.
Yeah. No, it's very, I think. Well, and you bring up Levinas, and I think the point of Levinas is that thinking doesn't work. Like, you can't totalize, and you can't have the grand unifying, grand totalizing answer. I think there is an injunction or a commandment in Levinas, and that commandment is to kind of honor the singular, both in the other and in yourself. And so,
but there's always a problem of how to translate Levinasian ethics into a politics.
Well, and that's the thing. It does not compute. That's the thing. Like, thinking in this totalized way, in this cosmopolitan global way, where we're all part of this one kind of unitary functional object, which Marxism forces you to do. Not only is it not only does it contain this fantasy of disalienation, it also contains this fantasy that we already are. It's psychohistory from Asimov, or from the Foundation TV series, if anybody has been watching that. Like, it is like Asimov just wrote Space Marxism. Like I love Foundation. It might be my favorite saga. I think it is, but he just took Marxism and said let's spice it up, let's dress it up, let's put a new coat of paint on it. And I think if you read late Asimov, you can actually see that he has to reckon with that, and he has to understand like, oh, this doesn't actually work. So in early Asimov, he has like the robots actually present an enemy because the three laws, don't harm a human, don't allow a human to be harmed, and always follow orders if they don't conflict with the first and second laws. Those are the three laws of robotics. And from that, he extrapolates a dystopian horror scenario where the robots actually start to harm us because they think, well, the best way to reduce harm is to reduce the cause of the harm. What is the cause of the harm? Well, people are the cause of the harm. So let's just lock them up in little bots. That's early Asimov. And then he kind of goes on and he does.
Is that the paper clipper?
I mean, in a way, that's the thing. If you take the paper clipper literally, no. But if you take the paper clipper kind of metaphorically, I think absolutely, because it locks you into a function. Like that is what the paper clipper does. And it reduces you to the function. In the scenario of the paper clipper, it's a resource. But in the scenario of Asimov, it's a charge to be protected or whatever. And then Asimov goes off and does this thing, and he writes wonderful stories. He didn't just write Foundation. He wrote tons of great stories. But like at late Asimov, you can see that he has to reckon with the fact that he uncritically took Marxism to be this like historically necessary teleological thing. And it actually turns out that the robots were actually the good guys all along in Asimov, because he painted himself into a corner, and in order to be consistent within this framework that he constructed, like he had to create this one all-knowing, all-powerful robot. And so the Foundation arc and the Dune arc, or the Asimov arc and the Herbert arc, they both end in this same point of like functionalism. Ultimately, like I think the logical extrapolation of both Foundation and Dune is functionalism, and or not Dune and not Foundation. Asimov's work and Herbert's work. They both result in this kind of functionalism because they're dealing with civilizations as like concrete objects. Whereas I think the point of Levinas, I think the point of Lacan, I think the point of the Human Project, of Zizek, of McGowan, of like all the shit that we're trying to do is to realize like, no, humans are the opposite of the object. That is what we are. And so if you have any theory that forces you to objectify the human, it's not going to work.
Whether it's substantialization or functionalization, because they kind of get you the fixed essence or fixed identity,
right? Is
what both of them get you,
right? And that's my ultimate problem with Marxism. And I don't think I didn't get that from Marx.
I get that from Marxists.
That's it. Like that's the thing. Marxists are this kind of like functionalistic, teleological, necessary thing. I don't think that's maybe in Marx. I don't know. Maybe somebody could show me where I'm wrong about it, but I can also see why people make that leap and do that, because if you read Marx like necessarily politically, then I think you have to go with that. I don't think Marx was doing a politics. I think Marx was doing an analysis and a critique, and Marx was trying to do an understanding. And
when he was doing that of feudalism, of capitalism, that's when he's at his best, in my opinion.
Right.
The speculations on the future and everything. I mean, it's kind of hard not to do those things.
Yeah.
When you're concerned with different modes of production. But I mean, Owl of Minerva only flies at dusk. Like, unless you're Nick Land and just can actually see the future via the lemurs.
He has contact. He has contact with the future.
Yeah, with the outside.
Yeah.
So I'll just say this, because I've been thinking this a lot lately. Basically, you know what I want to do, Nance? I wish I had the means to just produce a reality television show. What I want to do is gather up all our favorite Marxist theorists and just say, hey guys, look, you guys are the ones about like doing things, even though all I've ever really see you do is talk
Talk
about
about
things,
doing
but
things.
talk about doing things. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have you guys get hired at a warehouse, and you're going to go in there and organize the working class and turn them into the proletariat. And we're going to have hidden cameras. And it's not like the real world or whatever where we stage drama. It's none of that bullshit. It's more of like a hidden documentary or something. Like, we're going to have cameras and we're going to watch what you guys do to turn your average wage laborer in America right now into the revolutionary proletariat.
Mm.
And then if you do it, then, everybody can see the model. Like, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
But I think people like you and I need to see how this happens. Like, I need to watch this occur, even on a small scale.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about doing it nationally. We're talking about going to one warehouse, especially like an Amazon warehouse.
Yep.
And turn everybody there into a card carrying, proud, revolutionary proletariat. If you do it, you will have convinced me of something.
Yeah.
I'll go, fuck. Okay. I really didn't think that was possible. Now I was proven wrong.
Yeah.
But I need to see something like this happen. And I know there's been examples of, like, I remember a couple years ago, I don't remember the dude's name, but some Amazon worker basically, like, if I remember correctly, was like trying to get everybody to form a union, and there was a lot of momentum. I'm not talking about just forming a union. I'm talking about taking up turning fragmented American prosumers
Yep.
into card-carrying Marxist proletariats.
Yeah.
I need to see it happen in one warehouse.
Yeah. You can't just unionize a single warehouse. You can't just unionize 14 baristas.
And the unions, they don't have any revolutionary aims anymore.
No.
They just want the workers to get paid a little bit more and have better benefits. So the union thing, I'm like, dude, the last thing I need, my life will be fixed if I have a union. No, it fucking won't. So
they would say I'm sure many Marxists would say, well, that's your problem right there, Mikey. Well, there's your problem, Mikey.
Yeah. Okay. Well, does it mean that I have to pay union dues? And does it mean that I have to show up at fucking meetings that I don't want to be at? Just do the thing for me.
Right.
I don't want to do it.
Right.
Like,
well,
it's just extra labor on top of all the shit that I have to do that I don't want to do throughout the day. Now I got to do more shit that I don't want to do in order to get paid a little bit more. I want to not work at all.
Yeah.
How do we get there? That's where I'm trying to get. Robust standard of living, as little work as possible. Unions aren't going to do that. Like,
no.
So I'm just saying, like, and you know who seems set to give me money and no work more than them? Capital itself.
Yeah, at this point.
So
all the people.
I'm just saying, like, okay, no, I've said enough. Go ahead.
All the people kicking around the idea of universal basic income, and as problematic as that might be, that's more than adding responsibilities to you, and that's more than adding. Oh, you have to go to this meeting, and you have to pay your dues, and you have to do this, and you have to do that. Like, there are a lot of people in the tech world right now, and people who are close to policymakers right now who are seriously kicking around the idea of some kind of universal basic income because they understand that
robots don't consume.
Right. And we're approaching a tipping point where the consumption side of the equation needs to be bolstered in some way if we're going to continue with capitalism. Now, I hope we don't continue with capitalism, but if we do, we do need something. Or honestly, a lot of us need to die. Like that, like we just need to have
tell my fucking energy company to take the bill and shove it up their ass.
Right.
And we don't have to pay for electricity anymore. We don't have to pay for fucking internet. We don't have to pay for fuck all that shit. I'm
That's
tired
what's
of
crazy,
these fucking
man.
I know I don't give a fuck tonight. Like I'm just in a mood. Man, fuck a water bill.
Yeah, it's crazy,
Fuck a
dude.
sewer bill. Man, why the fuck am I paying this shit? Fuck you. I don't want to pay any of this shit. And stick the credit card bills up your ass too. Fuck them. I'm just over paying this bullshit every month that every single person I know is sick of fucking dealing with too.
Yep.
And I think basic utilities, we can't fucking figure. Like, and my thing is, do capitalists as a class even care? No, the fuckers who do have the energy company might care. Fuck them. Like,
No, I think ultimately I don't think there's any people who do really care. Like I think things have been so like systematized and so financialized and so
sedimented.
Yeah, that it's the systems that are in place that are enforcing the systems themselves. Like I really do think most people would be cool with a post-scarcity world. It's the fact that there are corporate and legal and social and political structures that like it's like a giant fucking Jenga at this point in time, and everyone is afraid for the Jenga tower to fall over. And so nobody wants to like take the next piece off. So everybody's just kind of hands off. And of course, the people at the very top are very comfortable and they are benefiting materially. And so they're disinclined, they're disincentivized from making any changes. But at the end of the day, I don't think they would kill us all. You know, I don't think they would choose to kill us all, even though they are killing us all. But
I see like I've seen Marxists will say like, oh, well, the problem with social welfare is that certain people get it and others don't. So it creates this conflict within the working class. And they're worried about how UBI or, cutbacks on work, like how it affects the internal solidarity of the working. First off, there is no internal solidarity of the working class to start with, not right now. Second, my mindset with this whole thing of like, oh, well, you can't have it because that'll piss them off. Here's the real criterion. Do you think you ought to have to work in order to have a living?
Yep.
You do? Then go fucking work.
Yep.
I don't.
Yeah.
So why should I fucking work? Oh, well, if you get to have stuff and I'm working, but you're not, then that's not fair. Then no, you just said you think, let me do me, you do you. You go fucking work for your living.
Yeah.
And I don't have to. This idea of, well, that's not fair. You know what? These motherfuckers with the work ethic to this day, who think everybody's supposed to have the fucking work ethic, it is this fucking universal demand they think that they can impose on everybody. And I'm like, now fuck your work ethic. My passion ethic says fuck your work ethic.
Yeah.
And
well, and
I'm just over like this idea. Oh, well, it's not fair. I see. And here's the thing. If you really had a work ethic, you wouldn't be mad that I'm over here.
Right.
And you too, we're over here not having to work, having a comfortable living while you work. Well, motherfucker, if you actually believe in work, then just
go
feel
work,
like
bitch.
you're better than us and don't worry about it. No, because you're like, they're stealing my jouissance. They're stealing my enjoyment because they don't have to work. Because you don't really fucking like work.
Yeah.
So be smart enough to dislike the shit.
Yep.
And want it out of your fucking life too.
Yep. Yeah.
Like the workers who fucking cling to this fucking, and I work hard, me, fuck you.
I mean, I get it.
Like, then stay a fucking working class motherfucker. Don't hate on people who don't want that in their, to structure their whole fucking existence on this planet.
Well, I think when like people have been immiserated and people have had everything kind of taken away from them or have never had anything in the first place, you start to identify with your, I was going to say identify with your symptom.
Those are the same motherfuckers who I know, some of whom I know, who have no fucking problem with the capitalists making 100 fucking million a year.
Right. Right.
But if you think you're too good to work next to them and you shouldn't have to spend your day doing it, you're the prick, not the capitalist. No, fuck them motherfuckers.
Well, we're put into this false relation with each other where we are all the enemy with it, scarcity. We're forced to compete with one another, this and that. The thing
No,
is,
they
like,
substantialize everybody. They
right.
think if you're next to them in the warehouse, then you belong there. But the capitalist is some other thing that just is in it's his or her rightful place. Fuck out of here.
I think that's why ultimately we do need to think about shit like that, and we should encourage people to think about themselves and their lives and the relations around them, instead of just doubling down on substantializing and saying you're a worker, therefore you are going to be the revolutionary subject, therefore we are going to have, like, no, we should take some steps back and encourage people to question and like interrogate their own self and their own life and their own world. And I think people would do less of that shit if they had the time to question and investigate and interrogate. And I think Marxists who just want to totalize and just want to essentialize the worker are actually part of the problem. And you're actually contributing to more of that. Yeah. You're contributing to more of that scapegoating and otherizing. And fuck you, dude. That sucks.
How about that you're alienating me by forcing me into some reduction to proletariat?
No.
What if there's alienation in that?
No, because then you're too big for your boots. You're getting too big for your britches.
Oh, I'm too big. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Know your place.
I'm just too good for work.
Know your
place.
That's
my essence. I'm too good to have to spend my life working. I'm too good for it. I'm above that. You over here might not be. You go in your little place, and I'll go to my place. See, but all you can flip it on them whenever they do that bullshit. No, you substantialize me. I can substantialize with the fucking best of them. I just know it's bullshit.
That'd be a badass TV show, though, dude.
Oh, like, I know. Like the
dude,
get all our favorite Marxist theorists and watch them
and have them try to organize a warehouse.
Oh my god, it would be great television.
It would be, dude.
But you know what would happen? Like the show would end after, I don't know, a month or two, because all the Marxist theorists would just have to, like, if they didn't have a way to get out of the wage labor job for whatever reason, because if they were stuck there, they would all just resign themselves. Like they would. And the other thing with Marxists is, like, let them talk for 10 minutes. They're all going to hate each other and disagree. Yeah. So basically all the Marxist theorists would just sit alone in the break room at lunch. And there'd be the whole table of all the other workers sitting there laughing, breaking balls and shit. And all of the different Marxists would just sit there fucking resigned to the fact that they can't convince anybody to be, take up the mantle of Marxism at this point in America. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just okay. If I make it personal to the people I work with, I'm like, guys, if you think you're getting any of them, take up some Marxist label, and or socialist label or communist label, dude, you're not getting anywhere with these motherfuckers. Yeah. And I just feel like this idea of talking about the proletarian revolution and how we just have to organize the working class. What signifiers are you going to use? Because I'm telling you right now, your signifiers won't work. Yep. You have got to get a whole new symbolic tapestry of words or signifiers. Yep. Because you cannot go in there with socialism. You cannot go in there with communism. You cannot go in there with Marx and Lenin. Like, it's not going to fucking work for you. And so I don't know what they think they would do if they got in there as, let's see the organizing process at one warehouse. Just show us how it works. Yeah. And then I'll shut the fuck up and go, it can be done. And I should shut the fuck up.
And again, it's not just unionizing. It's turning him into like convinced radical fucking like revolutionary subjects. Not just, hey, I would like better pay and I would like to be treated better at work. Everyone should have better pay.
You're going to get these fragmented, nicheified American consumers to sit around and read Das Kapital with you and go, no, I like Jameson's reading. No, I prefer David Harvey. Like, you think this is going to happen? Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know, man.
It would be good TV,
look, though, dude. I don't know, man. I'm just in a fucking mood tonight.
Yeah. Well, again, dude, it's been a day, dude. And I don't know. Like we were talking about Sinthome and talking about that, and then the shit with Charlie Kirk went down, and then the responses from people. And to me, I don't know. And I keep going in this direction of like, I don't know, this is the postmodern condition, and like the Sinthome itself is a consequence of postmodernity.
Should we talk about this a little bit now?
Yeah, let me
The late Lacan. I mean, look, do we have time to do the exegetical, or should we kind of talk about it broadly and then come back for the exegetical? I don't know.
I mean, if we just read Todd's piece,
Yeah,
it's short enough that we could just do that. And like, I think we can read it and then discuss it.
what about Levi Bryant's piece? Does that make it too long?
I mean, we could read through both and then discuss, or like read through Todd and then discuss, and then read through the Levi piece and then discuss.
Okay, here's the thing. Let's pause for a second and think about it, because we can always come back and read Levi's piece.
Yeah.
We're talking about Levi's piece on the Capitalist Discourse, which was one of his that really kind of stuck with me. I read it a long time ago, and when I read it, I wasn't ready for it. And what I mean, like, I wasn't conceptually ready for it, but what I like about what Levi does there in particular is he takes what Lacan calls the capitalist discourse. Because here's the thing, almost like if we do this one on the capital, don't we kind of need to talk about the four discourses?
Yeah.
And then how there's this fifth one, and then it's almost its own thing.
Yeah. But I do think it's interesting, and I do think it's very relevant to the discussion we're having about Sinthome.
What I like about Levi's interpretation of it is that he links the capitalist discourse to superego.
Yeah.
I think that's fucking right. And,
Yep.
We're right there. And here's the thing. We've been doing this whole thing with capital. Capital is superego. Superego is AI. AI is capital. This threefold series of identifications, and I'm like, damn, okay, that's where he identifies capital with superego. Now,
Yep.
Slavoj's done it. Todd has probably done this more than anybody.
Yep.
But I see this with Samo Tomsic, who we don't talk about enough because he's written two great books. Adrian Johnston. This is something like Zizek infused thinkers get this connection between capital and superego. Slavoj says it. Like, there's points where he makes this. He doesn't. I haven't seen where he really fleshes it out. He usually keeps his discussion of superego to inherent transgression and blah 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 blah. Right. But he has connected them before. Todd really robustly. Yep. But like I say, Levi's doing it here too. So look, basically what Nance and I agree with is that there's a fundamental connection between capital and superego. Okay. Yep. So the thing is, the Lacan that I usually am drawn from, and that, is constantly, influencing my work, is this Lacan of the middle period. Now, let's do some context before we get into the Todd piece, right? Okay, so Todd McGowan recently published his latest book called The Cambridge Introduction to Jacques Lacan. Now, I was lucky enough to read this before it came out. And I knew when I read it back then, I'm like, oh, sure. He is he's going to get some Lacanians riled up with some of these claims. And so first off, I don't think anybody is better at clarifying and straightforwardly discussing Lacanian concepts than Todd McGowan.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Like, he's got you all beat on that. Okay. Are his interpretations of these concepts the best? I think they're fucking great.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole thing with the later Lacan opens up, but the classic ones, objet, desire, drive, fantasy, you're not going to beat Todd at talking about this stuff. And so whatever clarity I have, like I learned this stuff from Todd.
Yeah.
So I'm very much indebted to him on that. So the book has a few different like there's like context and then Lacan's biography, and Todd walks through that stuff, but the core of the book is Todd discussing the key Lacanian concepts. Now, I've known this for a while. Todd has always had this hesitance towards the later Lacan, and that really is the Lacan of seminar 17 on up to the end of the seminar. The middle Lacan, there's different ways to where to play. Should we say the middle Lacan is like seminar 7 transitions into it. So seven's this hapax. It's like this one that doesn't fit in any period. It's kind of stands alone. But then 8 through 16 is the middle Lacan. Now I've seen other people who say, well, yeah, but the real middle Lacan is 11 through 16. Okay. All I know is 8 through 16 is really what's core for Todd. And not only Todd, for Zizek, for Alain Badiou, for so many important thinkers, the Lacan of the real of the middle period is the core Lacan. The later Lacan starts experimenting with these other concepts like the four discourses, sexuation, and Sinthome. Now there's other little, I don't want to call them micro concepts, but there's other like like in seminar 18 or 19, he talks about fraternity. He'll start talking about uh I just say Yodlung. I'm butchering it, but it means the one, or there is one, which is really his way of talking about the subject as a singularity in the real, outside of imaginary symbolic. And then you have his son-in-law, Jacques Lacan, who takes this thing with the Sinthome in seminar 23, and he starts working out what he calls ordinary psychosis. Ordinary psychosis is this idea like you have subjects who are going into the clinic. They're neither neurotic, but they also don't seem psychotic in the classical sense. And it's almost like some soft form of psychosis. And so, based on the symptoms Milieu was seeing, he started to go, there's something's happening here, and I'm not sure what to do with it. The symptoms are not typical neurotic symptoms, but they're not psychotics in the typical sense of psychotics. Like they're far more functional than your typical psychotic, right? Um, and then you have thinkers like Duane Roussel, who takes the later Lacan and takes Milieu and, starts talking about generalized foreclosure and islands of jouissance and saturation. And so this is a side of Lacanian theory that I've always been interested in, but it doesn't influence me as much as the middle period Lacan. Okay, so what does Todd do in the intro to Lacan that's so controversial? Well, he views these three big steps in the later Lacan: four discourses, sexuation, and Sinthome, as missteps away from like Lacan basically got it right, or as right as he could, in the middle period for Todd, and he thinks these other developments kind of muddy up the theory. Now, you know how much Todd has influenced me. Do I agree with that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't, because I haven't camped out in the later Lacan.
Yep.
The way that like someone like Duane Roussel, for example, has. What's my relationship with the late Lacan? It's complicated.
Yeah.
And all I mean is, I here's what it is. In my own work, I don't really use it. And yet I cannot not, when I'm thinking about shit going on, refer to it. There's something there that always draws my thought back to it. But then I'm always going, nah, but I don't I think this is off, or this doesn't make sense to me. So that's where I'm at. For example, like four discourses don't do. And there are Lacanian theorists who get so much out of that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm just like, okay, I think the capitalist discourse is the most interesting of them, but Lacan said very, very little about it. And whatever the capitalist discourse, like almost like I like what Levi says about it.
Yeah.
Lacan says very little. Um, okay, so I just don't really typically think in terms of discourse theory. Where, if Todd wants to say sexuation is ultimately a misstep, I probably would have to disagree with him on that, because I think the graph of sexuation and what's contained in there is profound.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
So I would want to defend sexuation. And
would.
even Todd at the end of this, you'll see he kind of says like Joan Kopchak has this great reading,
Yeah.
and it's he even knows he doesn't want to like wholeheartedly just dismiss sexuation. He doesn't like Sinthome. And
Yeah.
and basically what's Sinthome? Well, Sinthome, Lacan uses this original spelling, Sinthome opposed to symptom. But the symptom is a symptom, but it's not a symptom in the classical sense. And what it boils down to is this: whenever a neurotic typically would go into analysis, they would go there because they have some symptom that's problematizing their everyday life, and they want to get rid of this symptom, whatever it is. A basic example is compulsively washing your hands 100 times a day to the point that your hands are raw, right? Okay, that sucks. You want to get rid of that symptom. Okay. What the classical interpretation of the symptom says is that the symptom is really a coded message. Like it's trying to express something in the space of the symbolic order of the big other, but there's also repression involved, and there's a desire that can't be realized. And so because that desire is repressed, it finds a means to articulate itself in a veiled, coded way, and that's the symptom. So if you find a way to unlock the secret message of the desire contained within the symptom, you can undo the symptom and relieve, like the
Or
symptom is like this pressure.
or you
Go
can
ahead.
continue enjoying and continue loving the symptom, but understand it.
So that's the issue, is because Freud was aware of how, a patient would be making great progress, and all of a sudden they find some way to
Go right back.
self-destruct, and they're back, and the symptoms there, and that's part of his analysis of death drive in Beyond the Pleasure Principle. He starts going, it's like these fuckers enjoy their symptoms.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the fuck is that? And if you only think in terms of the pleasure principle, which is to say,
Yep.
the human organism, our libidinal economy, is only geared towards the release of excitation, and thus to establish equilibrium, stability, homeostasis in the body. And so you're trying to, no matter what the situation is, what you're trying to do and what you're geared towards is reaching a place of pleasure, which is calm, relaxation, no, lack of excitation, homeostasis, etc. Okay, that's what pleasure is. Enjoyment, or jouissance, is the opposite of that. It's excitation. It gets talked of in terms of pleasure to the point of pain, but it is this impulse or urge for excess excitation in the body, in the libidinal economy. And what that ultimately does is we get it through self-destruction, we get it through obstacles, we get it through problems, right? And so your source of jouissance is going to be something that does not get you to a state of pleasure, that does not get you to a nice, calm, rested and relaxed. It's the opposite. So if you find that the symptom is this obstacle to you functioning at the level of pleasure principle, well, then it starts to make sense. Oh, that's because there's enjoyment, jouissance in the symptom, and you're hooked on this excitation that the symptom gives you. Okay. So we start with the symptom is just like a coded message. Then Freud realizes, yeah, it's a coded message, but there's a way that you can get hooked on this thing because you're getting some kind of it's self-destructive and there you get hooked on it libidinally because you're not just geared towards pleasure, you're geared towards he didn't have the word jouissance, but that's that's what he would be getting at. So then Lacan, he understands all that. And so throughout the course of his seminar, that's what he's more or less working with when he talks about the symptom. Seminar 23 comes along, and what he does is introduce the concept of a it's like a primary symptom, but it's a symptom that has no meaning. It's not addressed to the big other. It's not trying to be interpreted. It's not trying to be signified. It is just a stupid, dumb form of enjoyment. The end. But the thing is, what Lacan does in that seminar is he says, so what the Sinthome does is it offers someone either who's going to be a psychotic subject or somebody who's on the verge of a psychotic breakdown, like James Joyce, who is the key example in the seminar. Say that the paternal function, the name of the father, which is to say the signifier of prohibition, that is the master signifier that organizes your, to use the Heideggerian term, being in the world. Okay. Say for whatever reason, you can't have access, like it's foreclosed for you to, you don't have a master signifier. You don't have some symbolic element that's overriding everything about you, giving you a symbolic identity, giving you a purpose, giving you a cause, giving you a mandate that organizes your whole life, right? If you're lacking this core symbolic element that organizes your world, what do? Well, it's almost like you don't have a world. It's just a flux. Well, if you don't have a master signifier, and the key thing about a master signifier is shareable with others. If you don't have some symbolic mandate, some sense of duty, especially a collective one that organizes your life, it's almost like you're not really in the world because it's not anchored in anything, right? You don't have a stabilizing principle. Okay, so if you don't have a signifier that bestows upon you a collective duty, or at least a duty that you participate in collectively, what's your other option? Well, what could hold your world together? Now, the world here would be the three registers for Lacan: symbolic, imaginary, real. What holds these things in a relative stability, if not a collective master signifier? Well, Lacan says a Sinthome. But this symptom, again, is unique. All it is a privileged form of enjoyment, of jouissance. And that is what holds or binds or glues your world together. It's what organizes you. But the point is, it's not a master signifier because it's an idiosyncratic, singular form of enjoyment, right?
Yeah.
So how did James Joyce stabilize his life? Well, he found this idiosyncratic way of writing. You see this clearest in Finnegan's Wake, right? He found this unique, singular form of enjoyment, and that acted as a ersatz fucking master signifier that isn't a master signifier. It's what held his psyche together as good as it can. But the point is, if what holds your world together is a singular idiosyncratic form of enjoyment, as opposed to a collective shared master signifier, you're going to exist in the world in a radically different way. It's almost like you are psychotic because, yeah, you're in the world and yeah, you can talk and you can communicate with others, but the only thing that ultimately structures you is you getting your idiosyncratic enjoyment. And here's the thing, Nance, this is why I say I come back to this, because in my day-to-day dealings, when I'm out on a route, I can't help but feel like this is true of me and everybody that I encounter. So when you're trying to do something in a space, especially like a dock, right, where you have different delivery drivers there, you have the receiving guys, right? Everybody's trying to do their own thing, and yet we all keep getting in each other's way. And I experienced this today. Like I knew we were going to talk about this, and I sat there and I go, God damn, like we are all put out because it's like all that matters is me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why aren't you guys organizing yourself around making things enjoyable or as easy on me as possible?
Yep.
And yet every one of them is thinking the same thing.
Yep.
And what none of us have is this shared sense of camaraderie. Like we're all Americans getting the job done. There's none of that. It's like we're little islands that have to bump up against each other, and we're all put out with each other because we all make things harder on each other. And each one of us should have the universe revolve around us.
Yep.
And I can't help. I go, now, does that make me an ordinary psychotic? I don't know. I I think I'm a neurotic. I just think that I'm a neurotic living in a symbolic order that has psychotic tendencies.
Yeah, I think like I think it's post-modernity. I think like that is kind of what post-modernity is, at least in the way, and fuck again, to use the big naughty P word. The way I think of it, the way I'm using it, like it's this condition where there is a real world made up of the real, the symbolic, and the imaginary, and we each have our own real world. But we're not allowed, like we're structurally cut off from that real world, because what produces what we see as the real world is the kind of the media machine and the screen and the simulation and this and that. So maybe coming from like a Baudrillardian or a McLuhan point, or a Lumanian point, like we're already cut off from the world. So the world that we live in is already, down the precession of images. So like we're already living in this like simulated reality. And so even if we do share a master signifier, sharing is different now because it's like doubled. It's doubled by the reproduction of the image, and it's doubled by the reproduction. Like it's almost like there's a symbolic order on top of the symbolic order, or maybe there's a symbolic order underneath the symbolic order, and maybe it like takes some of the real estate that the real had. I don't know. Like I don't know necessarily how to say it, but I do think it's true that we are living in this rapid churn, or this flux, or this just ongoing uprootedness.
And so do I. So do I. The question is, can we actually think this in terms of neurosis opposed to psychosis? And my position, so just for some context, a little bit more context, and then we'll get into the actual text. All right, everybody. So this weekend, this Saturday, I'm participating in a cool event. Daniel Tutt has organized a symposium to discuss Todd's book. And so there's 6 of us who are participating. Well, 7, including Todd himself. Todd's going to be there to deal with criticisms and respond and all that. So it's myself. Daniel Tutt's going to be one of the respondents. Andrew Flores, our friend from Vanishing Mediators, is one. Stephanie Swales, who wrote a
Shout
great
out.
book on perversion. We met her at the LAC conference. My old teacher from the New Center for Research and Practice, Levi Bryant, is actually going to be there, and guy Paris Levitas. And so it's going to be the 6 of us, and everybody's going to come with a different topic, what have you, different critiques, and they're going to lay out their point, and then Todd's going to respond. appreciate Daniel inviting me to be there.
Yeah,
It's a cool opportunity. Part of what I'm going to talk about is what we're talking about here, because this is something that I keep wrestling with and have for a long time. And it is this whole thing, Sinthome, generalized foreclosure, ordinary psychosis. And my whole thing is, I don't care. I mean, spoiler alert. I, I just think this whole thing with the late Lacan, where it's all about it's idiosyncratic enjoyment and it's this oversaturation. And Dwayne Roussel, I like that he talks about it in terms of toxic positivity, or at least he did at one point. I've seen him say stuff or post stuff where almost like he doesn't want to be associated with that. It works for me.
Yeah.
Thing is, I think a lot of this can be explained in terms of superego. And that superego is the governing principle of our capitalist society over and above the big other.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, it's interesting when you start reading Seminar 23 and you start hearing, this Joyce held himself together based on his idiosyncratic enjoyment. I'm sitting there going, well, where's the imperative to enjoy? Right. There's not a single mention of superego in that seminar. And as far as I know, I need to go back. Look, don't hold me to like scholarly rigor here, because maybe I'm talking out of my ass. But I don't remember Jacques Lacan in Ordinary Psychosis Revisited, which is his essay on it, right? I don't remember him bringing superego into it. And I don't see Dwayne Roussel really bringing in superego when he's talking about all this stuff with oversaturation, toxic positivity. And the thing is, what happens if you have a neurotic subject, but instead of the big other or a master signifier being the organizing principle, what if the superego's injunction to enjoy is the organizing principle? That is where I think Todd and I are on the same page, where that's what's happened. We're not really psychotics, even in some soft sense. We all understand prohibition. We all operate in language. We all get metaphor. We all get all this shit that old school neurotics got. What's different is that we feel a duty, and that's the collective dimension of it.
Yeah.
The odd thing about this, the injunction to enjoy, is it's a master signifier. It is a collective duty, but it's a collective duty towards your idiosyncratic pursuit of jouissance, which is to say it's a master signifier that's basically demanding you don't follow a master signifier.
Right.
So this complicates our libidinal dynamics. Like of course, this kind of thing would cause different symptoms to emerge. You know, binge shopping. Well, doesn't being obsessively fixated on satisfying the injunction to enjoy, isn't that make sense in terms of binge shopping? Like
when I used to drink, I would get shit-faced and like have a pile of random like overnight shit from Amazon on my doorstep. Like just like
you're right.
Like a pair of socks, a keychain, like just cheap dumb bullshit, but I would just get like blackout drunk and just buy shit on Amazon.
Okay, look, all right, like we'll come back and read Levi's post on Capitalist Discourse, because again, I think it, like I feel like the way I read it, it supports our position on this. But look, it's funny, like, you know, Todd's always making a joke. He's like, if you want to see how AI is the lacking, you know, other, just ask it something about theory and it's going to give you a terrible answer. But the problem is, I did a fucking Google search on Capitalist Discourse Lacan because I just want to see what it brought up. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, maybe I'm just not well versed enough in this particular concept, but it looks like it did a pretty damn good job. So suffice it to say, let me read these points that AI spit out about the capitalist discourse and just see what your initial reaction is. Okay. The AI overview says, Lacan's concept of capitalist discourse describes a social structure where the relentless pursuit of material goods and surplus value replaces authentic social bonds, creating a cycle of dissatisfaction and disappointment rather than true enjoyment or fulfillment. It functions as an eternal motion machine. And that's Lacan's term for it. that produces a never-ending desire for new commodities, ultimately leading to a profound sense of lack and anxiety in individuals, even as the system promises fulfillment. That's pretty fucking good.
I would say, yeah, that is a good overview. I mean, no, I think, yeah, like, hey, what is that? I think that's a great response. Yeah, I think that's a great response.
We feel our lack precisely because what the superego's injunction to enjoy means is don't lack.
Yeah.
Be completely satisfied. But it's impossible for desiring split subjects to be completely satisfied. So we try to get the commodity that's going to satisfy us, try. And every time we do it, we fail. So we feel guiltier about our lives because we're not truly fulfilled and happy.
Yeah.
And so, okay. And then it starts key aspects of Lacan's capitalist discourse. Number one, commodities as substitutes for love and connection. The discourse substitutes material goods and consumption for genuine love and meaningful connections with others. Okay. Focus on surplus value. The capitalist system is structured around the production and circulation of surplus value, money that generates more money, i.e. capital, and the commodification of everything, including individuals' experiences. Okay. The illusion of enjoyment. While the discourse promises gratification through consumption, this is a deceitful promise that ultimately leads to a lack of true libidinal enjoyment and a persistent sense of discontent.
Yeah, man. Depressive anhedonia.
Yes. Then it says individualism and exploitation. The system isolates individuals while using them to serve capital, which enjoys freedom from ethical limits. Eternal motion machine. Capitalist discourse is described as an ingenious mechanism that keeps individuals constantly chasing the next purchase or experience, as each one inevitably leads to disappointment and a renewed desire, which you will be shamed for by the superego.
Yeah.
Consequences for the subject. Individuals are not in charge. They become pawns in a system where the desires are managed, leading to a reduction of the subject and the creation of new forms of discontent. And then homology of Marxist concepts. Lacan saw the structure of capitalist discourse as mirroring Marx's economic analyses, both producing an excess, surplus value in production, surplus jouissance in discourse. That is fetishized and creates a cycle of repetition. And then the final one, a cursed discourse. Lacan viewed capitalist discourse along with scientific discourse, the sixth one, as one of the two problematic discourses of the era, characterized by a rapid and pervasive success that masks deeper issues of doubt and dissatisfaction. Okay. You can tell that it's like dumbing down AI answer, but I was like, that's as from what I understand, that's not too fucking bad.
Yeah, for someone like
not bad.
If someone I don't know, heard you know, the capitalist discourse or the discourse of the capitalist, if they heard that in a lecture or whatever, and they were like, oh, that's interesting to me, I wonder what that is, and they went home and Googled it, and that's what Google gave them.
Yeah,
I'd say that's a great starting point. And I think if that person was then decided to continue further, like reading further, and they would actually like unpack and expound upon some things, I think that's pretty fucking good.
Okay, I'm just gonna read. This is just the core paragraph from Levi's thing. We'll come back into the whole thing.
Let me pull that up on screen so that people can see.
It's the paragraph. It's like the big one, the second before one? The end. It's sadly, Lacan tells us.
Yeah.
You want to read it? Wait, you're muted.
Oh shit, I muted. Oh, does that mean I coughed? You heard me cough?
I don't.
Okay. Sadly, Lacan tells us precious little about just how we are to understand the discourse of the capitalist, but based on how we interpreted the discourse of the master above, I think we can hazard a well-educated guess. The discourse of the capitalist says something like, the maternal superego, S1, commands the subject, part S, to enjoy in the form of commodities, S2. I won't here go into detail as to why I associate the superego of capitalism with the maternal superego, beyond saying that where the superego in the universe of mastery functions as a prohibition in the universe of capitalism, the superego now seems to command enjoyment. You must find ever more exotic and different forms of enjoyment. However, we'll note that in the position of the product of this discourse, we now see objet A, or the remainder. In the Milan discourse, Lacan claims that the discourse of the capitalist is the most ingenious discourse to date, in that it creates something like an eternal motion machine. This is not
Landian cyber
it.
positivity.
Yep. Oh, for each commodity S2, the divided subject consumes. He experiences a disappointment. This is not it. He is thus compelled to pursue yet another commodity to fulfill the superegoic imperative, and so it goes continuously. Nothing is ever enough because no commodity is ever it. Moreover, insofar as we are obeying the superegoic imperative to enjoy, and insofar as the more we obey the superego, the more guilt we feel, this consumption is accompanied by profound guilt and anxiety.
I almost wonder if the AI was drawing from Levi's post.
I mean, it's been up for fucking, what, like 13 years?
Did Robo Cthulhu plagiarize Levi?
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised.
But okay, here's the thing. This discourse is geared towards accumulation.
Mhm.
It just amplifies what it's doing. It's an eternal motion machine. Is this not Landian cyber positivity that he's ultimately getting at?
It's 100% that positive feedback loop.
This is where you see the two sides of the fault line
Yep.
crash together. And if we get to talk to Dick again anytime soon, I'm going to say, do you know about this thing that Lacan calls the capitalist discourse? Because I know how much you hate Lacan. Well,
yeah,
you might like this. No, I can't ever like him no matter what. Like, but sorry, this is right in line. And so my thing is, look, I just wanted to say, just all I want to say is this. I don't know about the whole discourse theory and analyzing all different social dynamics in terms, but this gets at what the fuck is going on. So
yeah,
this is where I'm even saying, like, there's something redeemable about the 4 disco or the 6 discourse or the 3,487 whatever.
Yeah.
This is where, because I think there's people who will go, Mikey would never disagree with Todd. Yeah, I will. I'll say, like, okay, I think there's something here. Maybe Todd doesn't, but I think the thing that's here is very McGowian.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't think Todd, he's not drawing on discourse theory. I know that, but I think Todd with pure excess.
Yep.
I mean, what he's talking about this book in that book is here in how Lacan's talking about capitalist discourse. So I'm just saying this might be where Todd could go back and kind of because I'm like, it sounds pretty goddamn close to what you're getting at with pure excess.
But it was also like Lacan didn't take it and run with it. Like the discourse of the capitalist was like at the end of the 4 discourses.
No, and he barely says anything about it. He throws it out there. He doesn't develop it at all.
Yeah. And I think for me, I think probably very similar to you, maybe even more so, where with late Lacan and all this, it's like, so what, dude? Like, so what? Like, I don't know. And people take the mathemes far too literally. And people are doing this thing where, and look, I understand they're very useful, for explaining and visualizing and maybe even instructing.
Yeah, you can also bend them to say what you want them to say.
Yeah. But it comes to a point where, like, you're taking these logical operations and you're forgetting that we're talking about the subject. You're forgetting that we're talking about the person, and you replace the subject with just a logical proposition, which is ultimately just a mathematical object. And so people tend to overdo this thing. And I think where I see it the most is with this later Lacan stuff, And for me,
like
it's
the topology and
yeah. And I love it. It's interesting. I love math and I love topology. It's fucking fascinating. But when it's math or when it's logical propositions that are necessarily like A or B, or A is not A, like, yeah, that tracks. But when you take it into the world of like the real world, the human, people often seem to forget that we're humans first and foremost. And the point of saying that is to say, like, you can't totalize us and you can't reduce us to these functions. And I think that's the point of Lacan at the end of the day, is to say, like, hey, it's not that we are these positive things that can be read like numbers in Harry Seldon's psychohistory formula, but we are kernels of negativity. We are kernels of the unknown and the unknowable and the unpredictable. And that's first and foremost, that's what we are. And so that's my version of Lacan. That's why Lacan is important. And of course, he also helps us understand jouissance and the big other and all this stuff. But like at the end of the day, I like my post-structuralist Lacan far more than I like the late positivistic Lacan, because I think he does get a bit too positivistic.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, this is what the symposium is going to essentially be about. I mean, because I think everybody there wants to defend the late Lacan in some way, shape, or form, except maybe me, or to say that what late Lacan was doing, I think maybe, like, if we think in terms of superego, we might get the goods, like, without having to appeal to psychosis or symptom. Because here's the thing, right? Is it possible for a neurotic to have a privileged form of enjoyment that they need more than other types of enjoyment and still have a master signifier? I mean, why can't that be a thing? Right. So, I mean, my whole thing is that I think contained in Todd's work is the possibility to rethink the later Lacan by putting the emphasis on the superego instead of the Sinthome or ordinary psychosis or whatever. And so that's just, so I call my position, and it's not like I've fleshed this out and I have a book that but if I wanted to call my position anything, I call it superego oriented neurosis.
Yeah.
Can we get mileage out of that? And so that's kind of the thing. But yeah, the people find get a lot of mileage out of the later Lacan, and Zizek does too, because at every point in his work, he's always appealed to Sinthome. There's one of the great, if you want to know what the four discourses are, go read his book, The Broken Kettle. It's his book on Iraq, but he has a great chapter on four discourses there. He's always using sexuation. So here's what I would say. The great thing about what Todd's book does is that it forces us to go, hold on. Can we pump the brakes and go, do these later concepts, are they compatible with the basic default theory of the middle period? Or do they diverge from it in important ways? And I think it's an opportunity for everybody involved to get more clear on what they think about Lacanian theory.
Yeah. Well, and I think even to say, I don't know, to say in a way it might be additive for Todd to rethink it, rather than saying, oh, I think it was a misstep or even a regression, which he does, I think, explicitly state that Lacan is regressing.
He does.
It might be an opportunity to say, hey, Todd, you already made a contribution that might help you recontextualize this in a way that where you wouldn't say it's a regression. You could see it's it might be a diversion, it might be a change of direction, it might not be, who knows. I'm not making that claim, but I do know, the superego, I think, rings a lot truer to me then coming up with some new version of ordinary psychosis. Like we are living in the era of the kind of superegoic social order. Like that's the point. That like that's post-modernity. We like that makes more sense. We are in this dialectical relationship. So why do we have to go so far as to be ordinary psychotics?
So here's the thing, right? The other thing with the capitalist discourse. So Levi identifies it with superego, maternal superego. The other thing though is, but superego is always associated with perversion, not psychosis. And that gets us to like trying to think through where we started, the Charlie Kirk thing.
Yep.
I mean, look, one of the reasons, so like Dwayne Russell and Slavoj had a debate over this stuff a couple years ago. I think if you search on YouTube, you can probably find it. There were essays exchanged, but Dwayne wants to say like society in some way is moving towards psychosis, a psychotic structure, where Slavoj wants to say, no, it's still perversion. It's capitalism is and superego are perverse, right? So, for example, somebody who thinks, so what defines the pervert in the technical Lacanian sense? It's somebody who makes themselves the object, like you were saying. They're not a subject in the way that a typical neurotic is, because their whole thing is based around being an object for the big other. How does this work? It's the type of person who, in Sartrean terms, exists in bad faith.
Yeah.
Right? It's the waiter who is constantly like reducing himself to his symbolic identity and overdoes the gestures and, hi, can I get you anything? And you just want to go, can you be a fucking human just a little bit?
Yeah.
Right? What the pervert does is reduce him or herself, typically him, to the instrument of the big other. And so it's the person that will go carry out terrible fucking acts of violence on behalf of their government or their what they think God has authorized them to do, right? And they can always say, well, I don't want to do this. It's not me. It's not my personal desire. I'm just merely serving the big other. So, the Soviet Union, the communists could do horrible things, gulag people, but it's not me. I'm not doing this. And even Stalin could say it. It's history.
Yep.
It's the dictates of history. I'm just merely the instrument. Okay. But the problem is with the person who makes themselves an object or an instrument in this way is they operate with a kind of certainty. Now, it's true. Perversion operates on the basis of disavow. I know very well, but the point is perverts also have a kind of certainty, even though psychotics have their own, because this is why the clinic is usually thought of in terms of a dualism between neurosis and psychosis. Why? Because perverts are certain they don't need your help. They know they already know what the deal is.
Yeah.
They don't doubt in this way, right? So they don't seek out analysis. So if the pervert operates on the basis of, I am absolutely certain that I am carrying out the will of the big other, and the big other is unbarred, or my act will make the big other unbarred, I'm filling in the right. What you have is, somebody who will go to a fucking abortion clinic because they're certain this is what needs to be done and blow it up, or somebody who's absolutely certain that Charlie Kirk shouldn't exist, and or somebody who thinks, is it Tulsi Gabbard you said earlier?
Gabby Giffords.
Gabby Gifford. Okay. Nope. Gotta go. The person who operates on the basis of this kind of act of violence is typically not doubting themselves.
Yeah.
They're certain that, the big other, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if your big other is conservative Christian values or woke or Marxism, Leninism, whatever your big other is. If you're certain that you're its instrument and you're certain that you know what its will is and what will bring wholeness to society, well, then you're going to be the one to carry out these acts of, terrible violence.
fanatical
because
acts.
good old fashioned neurotics are too oh my God, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Right. Hamlet's the
Yeah.
great example
Yeah.
of the neurosis just prolonging the act because you're just in so much doubt about, am I getting it right, am I wrong, right? So you get the complete opposite of the one, so that's what we're doing. Like, so are we a society of perverts now, or, because you made some great points, are the people who think words are so absolutely important that you can justify murdering human beings over them? Psychotics treat words like things, like words
Mhm.
are as real for psychotics
As
as
people,
objects.
as
So,
humans.
so while the person who commits the act might be operating according to some perverted structure, the people who celebrate this because they're certain, like, oh well, the person who got killed said all the bad words,
Yeah.
and words are real. So does that get us to some kind of psychosis?
And that's the thing, man. I do think that's properly the psychotic who sees a human and a word, which is an object, as a human and a word, or human and a collection of words, as both as objects. I think that's psychotic, because that is like total, like, you're in la la land at that point, dude. You have no idea what's going on. Like, if you can't even have this moment of recognition of self and other as like, we are the things for whom things matter. And if you equate it exactly to words or speech acts, I do think that's psychotic. But I don't think, I don't know, maybe we have a psychotic relation to our screens, but we're still living in this perverse world. I don't know. But I do think I'm more on the side of the perverse than I am on the psychotic. But I also think, like, no, some of the shit we do is actually psychotic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but where does that leave us? Does that leave us being able to say, like, well, and like, I love Leon Brenner's questions, the questions that he's asking.
Well, and he brings in autism as
Yeah.
a possible fourth
Yeah.
clinical structure.
And I honestly, I think that, to me, explains more than this, like, generalized foreclosure and psychotic does. But still, ultimately, at the end of the day, like, no, I think this superego thing and this perversion thing tracks, because it fits right into everything else. Not just these structures, and not just these, like, well, let's go sit down and write a book and have a talk about the clinic. That's one thing. That's totally disconnected from why this stuff actually matters to me, when it comes down to, like, no, this subjective experience of being a subject, and living in the modern world that we live in today. Yeah, I think capital is this super egoic AI, and it's like, it's trapping us all in this little bubble of solipsism. And like, that's the perverse relation to the rest of the world.
Well, and look, I mean, doesn't capital, or at least the market, if we want to talk about the invisible, like, doesn't it know better what's good for us? I mean, that's how it's, I mean, pro-capitalists,
That's
or
how it's
capitalist
marketed.
apologists
Yeah.
that talk about it like that. It knows better what's good for you than you yourself do. So that's the power of the invisible hand.
Yep.
Like, none of you individually can do this, but it's a and this is why Land says it was AI even back then with what Adam Smith was talking about.
Yep.
It is a virtual mechanism that organizes social interactions for the sake of social functionality better than any of us have knowledge to pull off. Like, the knowledge is in it. The
thing that get, and yeah, and I think, like, taking that uncritically, or taking that at face value, I do think capital is this AI. I just think it's currently, it's an idiot, and it will remain an idiot until it becomes a super genius. And once that switch happens, then we're fucked. But I think it's ridiculous that like the overwhelming majority of drug overdoses in the world are fentanyl. And nobody wants to do fentanyl when they take their drugs. Everybody wants to do heroin or opiates or cocaine. Nobody actually wants the fucking fentanyl. So it's like, if AI was smart, don't you think it would find a way to provide us with our cocaine and our opiates? No, it finds a way to provide us with this dog shit, stepped on bullshit that kills people. So that's a great example of why the artificial intelligence is an idiot, but it's an all-powerful idiot. But anyway.
So one of my favorite coworkers, he loved his meth in the 90s, and somehow when you look at him, he doesn't look like he ever did it. He looks healthy, like he shows no signs of it. And he always claims because he snorted it. I don't know. But he liked, and so he said it was his favorite drug back then. He was like, if you remember the 90s, you weren't properly there.
Yeah, dude.
But
yeah.
He says, you know, look, he doesn't like Trump. He's somebody who doesn't like him, but he was like, I would only like Trump if "Make America Great Again" meant what it really needs to mean. And I was like, what does it really need to mean? He's like, make street drugs great again.
He
goes, because I'm tired of fentanyl being everything and I want to do street drugs again, and I can't because they fucking ruined street drugs. And he was like, everybody talks about, oh, drugs don't seem to be as big a problem for the younger people, for the Zoomers, because they know they will fucking die.
Dude, even me, like I sometimes think like, man, it would be cool to go buy some coke right now and just do a little bit, not a lot. I don't want to go crazy, but every time I'm like, I don't want to die off a dirty fucking 16th. Like, no, I'm good, dude. I'm good.
That's his point. He was like, I can't believe. He was like, who? He's like, I don't even understand the logic of it. He was like, did the government do it as a preventative measure? He's like, why would drug dealers put this shit in it that just kills their customers? He was like, none of this makes any sense to me.
So I think it happens at the level of like street dealers. I don't think it happens at the level of like big time guys, suppliers, and cartels. And I think it's just street dealers stepping on shit to try to stretch it to make more money, because there are fewer people have money, and so there's less money in the market. So fiends and addicts have less money in general. So like street dealers' profits started going down. And fentanyl was this new thing. And fentanyl's not necessarily new. Like everyone was afraid, like, oh, it's some new Chinese drug. Like, no, these things have been around for a long time, but it's always sensationalized in the media. But these street dealers got their hands on it, and they started trying to stretch shit out at that level. So it's not coming in from the cartels. It's not coming in from the top. It's actually coming in at the corner where dudes are just trying to stretch it. And there's so much turnover at the level of street dealers where they don't have time to make smart business plans, because you know how that shit goes. Like it's a turf war. It's gang war all the time. So these guys aren't thinking about long-term business. They're thinking about how can I take this fucking kilo and stretch it into a kilo and a half. And I mean, you can cut shit with baby laxative. You can cut shit with B12. You can cut shit with all kinds of different shit. But if you cut it with another drug that actually gets you fucked up, people are going to be like, oh, that's better shit than the shit that's all baby powder or baby lax.
Until they collapse dead.
Until they die. But there's so much churn in the world of addicts and street dealers that, like, of course it's a nonsensical thing. But that's the thing. Like, if we had, I don't know, a better drug policies and maybe regulation instead of prohibition, I think it would save millions of lives, not just from overdose deaths, but from being ruined, from like living on the streets and shit.
Where's the country that decriminalized all drugs? Was it Portugal?
Yeah, so that was sensationalized.
Was it?
Yeah, but as far as I know, it actually hasn't been as bad as media reports made it out to be. Like, like there were some people who were like, oh yeah, Portugal decriminalized all their drugs and now it's just a shit show. I think Portugal's actually doing pretty well. Same thing with Canada. Like there was,
Well, if I remember correctly, Michael Moore in what is it? Where to Invade Next? I think
ooh,
he goes there and he talks about how like decriminalizing all the drugs was just a benefit for everybody,
yeah,
and that
yeah, because it's
you can't drive when you're fucked up. You can't
yeah,
drive. You can't operate heavy machinery. And if you're gonna act an ass in public, yeah, you're gonna be
someone's
arrested.
gonna shut you
But
down.
if you
Yeah,
want to do the shit in your fucking house, have at it.
no, I think well, and that's the thing with decriminalization. I think there's like a smart way to do it, which I think most places that have done it have actually gone about it the smart way. Um, and then there's a dumb way to do it that would just be like, yeah, just fucking have at it. It's a free for all. Like, I think I hate alcohol. Like I lived through severe alcoholism, and it took a toll on me and my relationships and my family. And I often think like, man, wouldn't it be cool if I could have just smoked a lot of weed and maybe done a little bit of coke instead of having to drink? Because I could go buy liquor on the way home from work without a problem.
Yeah.
Like how
And we
different
all
would
know
my
this.
life
Anybody
be? Yeah,
who've gone through a big party phase in their life or been part of a scene where there's a lot of drinking and drugs. I'm sorry, like alcohol
alcohol's
top of the
evil,
list,
dude.
one of the problems.
It's
It's
it's like
like I've always been able, like I need a couple beers and I feel good, and it's just always been, I've never been a problem, and that works for me. Um, but the people who I've loved and who I've known who have the problem with alcohol, it's like,
dude,
God damn,
it's so bad. And it's so easily accessible. I feel the same way about
mhm.
gambling. And I've never gambled. I used to gamble for cigarettes when I was a kid, but other than that, like I never spent money on gambling. But like I was watching football this weekend, and every fucking 15 seconds there's a commercial for DraftKings sports bets, MGM sports bets. Fuck, like, and it's like, dude, you guys are like, we're gonna have an entire suicide epidemic here pretty soon with all these, because
Yeah.
gambling is so fucking addictive, and these betting platforms are so manipulative. They let you do prop bets and micro
And
bets.
we, a couple of us older guys at the warehouse, one of the young guys who we love, this young Zoomer, he starts doing that online gambling shit.
Dude.
And he started blowing his fucking paychecks. And
Yep.
we sat him down. We're like, kid, you don't know, you can't fucking, and we actually like he's much better. He stopped doing it, but we tried to nip it in the bud where it's
Dude,
like you don't understand how bad this can get.
this shit's evil
This
as
ain't nothing to fuck
fuck.
around with.
Evil as fuck.
But here's the thing too. I have I have certain things, if I start going down certain paths, I can't control myself. And as I've gotten older, I've learned, okay, just don't go down, don't
Just
do
avoid
that.
it.
But this is why I don't know. There's, we talk about the ethics of psychoanalysis or the ethics of pure desire, blah, blah, blah. But there's this other kind of ethics that you can get from especially Lacanian psychoanalysis. And it's almost the compassion of the drive
Mm.
where I'm like, man, whenever people do something self-destructive, I see other people's personal responsibility.
Yep.
He did it to himself. And I'm like, you guys have not learned that you too have certain things about you that you can't
Yep.
control certain, and if you give into them, that's why Lacan said, um, like jouissance, like it starts with a tickle and ends in a blaze of
Yep.
patrol.
Yep.
Like if you give it, and I mean, you see this in movies, they portray it. Frank the Tank, a fucking
Yep.
Will Ferrell in Old School.
I'm
Like
going
if he has
streaking.
one fucking drink, this dude's gonna fucking go.
Yep.
And yet all these other aspects of his life, he has no problem controlling. So the compassion of the drive to me is just understanding like there's things that if I give into them, I
Yep.
can't control it.
Yep.
And so you can still believe in personal responsibility, but understand that there's limits to it. And personal responsibility is usually just employed to not have to care about another person.
Well,
That's how most people use it.
that becomes like a super egoic disavowal, where instead of actually having to look and recognize, oh, hey, another person is going through some shit, you can just you can say, oh yeah, you should have taken personal responsibility. And that's like a super egoic thing where it's like, you didn't enjoy properly. You didn't enjoy the right way.
Sure got it right.
Yeah. And so I think, again, going back to superego, like I do think superego is the Pont du Capitan of our time.
Yeah.
And I mean, we were talking about Raja Jackson. Like I think that is a crazy example of no, I haven't even looked into it because it's fucking sad, dude. It's
was
too sad.
Everywhere. But isn't it weird, this incredible extreme contraction that goes on with these media spectacles? Like, it was everywhere
now
for
it's
a week,
gone.
and then it just gets contracted back into the void, and I haven't heard a goddamn thing.
Dude, that's
it's like,
I don't want to pull it up right now. But I think pretty soon I'm gonna do something on Lumen, talking about that, like talking about not necessarily the speed at which the media machine operates, but like the way the media machine operates and like kind of conditions us and sets us all up in this weird postmodern world. So on one hand, you have like the world is constantly in flux and constantly in this churn that's impossible to keep up with. And then on the other hand, we have like this relation where we're in this relation where we're trying to enjoy and we're trying to obey by disobeying all the rules, or we're trying to disobey in just the right way and doing all this stuff. So it puts us in a really, really precarious position, where people beat people to death in the fucking wrestling ring, and people shoot people in the neck on a college campus, and everybody just kind of sits back and enjoys the spectacle, and no one really has time to stop and think and reflect and try to situate themselves and be like, wow, things are bad. I mean, I've been texting with one of my kids about it because like she's really upset. She just got to university, and like it's fucking scary. Like I can't do anything to solve this.
And
I am terrified.
Say, look, guys, I don't care if it's somebody on the right who gets killed like this or somebody on the left. This is all it does is create a greater context and circumstance of fear and threat on universities.
Yep.
And other everywhere else. But like everybody loses in this scenario. So look, it's real simple. The culture war works like this. You have two clear-cut sides. Each one positions the other as the thief of enjoyment. If we just got rid of those woke fucking leftists, then we could have our traditional old school American Christian society back. If we could just get rid of those fucking Republican, Christian, normie, fucking fascist assholes over there, then we could have our new society and blah, blah, blah. And if that is what you do, so they're just constantly stealing my enjoyment. My life would be better if they didn't have blah, blah, blah. And it's so, okay, now I'm going to get even because they've stolen something from me.
Yep.
Not only is this theft of enjoyment, now this, and it's a cyber positive feedback loop.
Yep.
Because it just amplifies and builds and builds. Now it's not just theft of enjoyment. It's also stained with ressentiment in the Nietzschean sense.
Yep.
And let me tell you a fucking dangerous concoction. Theft of enjoyment mixed with ressentiment.
Yep.
Okay? When that's the cyber positive feedback loop, things just get worse for everybody.
Yep.
And the thing to do is the Zizekian Bartleby thing. I'm withdrawing from this.
Yep.
I am not going to actively spur this on from either side.
Yep.
I subtract myself from this. I can have all kinds of forms of enjoyment that, but I'm not going to enjoy the culture war. I'm not going to be libidinally invested in this shit.
It's just a conflagration. It's an all-consuming fire, and all it's going to do is burn all the fuel. And people don't realize we are the fuel. People love to sit back and watch it burn, but
oh yeah, and you know who doesn't get blamed? Capital.
Yeah, that's the thing. It is brought back to like this ultimately like cultural identity category thing.
Cthulhu sits there and goes, "It's all going according to plan."
Yeah.
Keep killing each other, keep
Yeah, dude.
hating each other, keep blaming each other.
Yep.
Don't. It's the greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing the world he didn't exist. Capital just stay in the background. Don't worry
Yep.
about me.
Yep.
MCM Prime. Nope. No, I'm not. I am. No, I just create jobs. Leave me alone.
Yep. Yep.
Don't focus on me and how I structure every aspect of your life that you hate.
Yep. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Exactly. And so all of this, comes. I mean, we've done so much tonight, but I feel like we've done so little because we didn't.
I know we didn't read, but I think the way you broke it down, the way you broke down Sinthome, the way you broke down the four discourses, even and the discourse of the capitalist, I think that is gonna give everybody what they need to understand what we're talking about.
We'll do more of this,
and I do actually want to do more readings and shit too. So,
I mean, I'm still down to read the thing from Todd. It just, I don't know. We got in a zone and just kind of riffed. I know at the beginning of the video when we start, we're going to read this thing from Todd.
Okay. We probably should.
If I was a viewer, I'd be like, man, fuck these guys.
We probably should read it. That's a valid point.
I mean, okay. But the thing is, it's 15 paragraphs long.
Yeah. It's not long. I am actually going to go to the bathroom before we go though, because I had like 3 cups of tea.
Okay. Well, if we're going to, maybe we read some of it and just see how far we get. And then, if we don't get through all of it, we can come back. It's just.
Yeah, that works.
We'll see. Because here's the thing. You and I, we're going to give commentary. We're going to.
Yeah.
So maybe, but let's do a little bit of it.
Let me get this guy pulled up. Boom. And here we are. You noticed a cut. Eagle-eyed viewer. We did have a little cut. We had a little interlude and a little bit of editing magic. But here we are, and we're actually going to read this section of the book, of the Cambridge Introduction to Lacan by Todd McGowan, the section on Sinthome.
And we should say, so look, in the book, there's a kind of, his critique is kind of a triptych. It's 4 discourses, sexuation, Sinthome. We're reading Sinthome because this is where his critique is kind of at its most vehement,
sharpest,
most intense.
Yeah.
And it's where it all culminates. This is also the last concept Todd unpacks in this particular introduction to Lacan. I've told Todd recently that, perhaps my biggest criticism of the book is not one that's really his fault, but it should have a section on superego. It doesn't.
Yeah.
But it also makes sense. I mean, look, the whole thing with superego, the way we talk about it is Zizek,
dude.
It's Zizek.
Yeah.
Sorry. Lacan says nothing commands enjoy except superego, but he does not develop this concept like that.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. But I wish there was superego. As Todd said, there was going to be a superego thing, word limit. Mm-hmm. So we can be mad at Cambridge, I guess.
Yeah. Fucking Cambridge. Fuck you guys.
Cambridge.
Fucks
us again.
They stole our enjoyment.
You fucking thieves. This is where this is the last concept he discusses. And so, let's so look, with 4 discourses, he says it starts to go wrong with 4 discourses. It moves away from this kind of universal dialectical relationship the subject has to the symbolic order. Now there's these 4 different types of relationships the subject can have. And then if you bring the capitalist discourse and then the scientific discourse, then you just keep adding. It's just like, Jesus Christ. And he thinks that ultimately all the discourses are forms of mastery. This is controversial because the analyst discourse is supposed to be the liberatory, emancipatory discourse. So analysts don't like Todd basically saying, "Oh, it's actually it's just another form of mastery." That's a controversial take. Do I agree with it or not? I don't know. I don't. And for the
Does
type
it
of stuff I do,
matter?
I don't know if I care.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think at the end of the day, for definitely for what I'm concerned with, and I think what we're concerned with, I don't know if it matters.
Clinicians can take it up with Todd. So, but that's part of what the symposium's about.
Yeah.
So, and then sexuation, he doesn't deny. He loves that Lacan is saying, like, there's no such thing as some default metaphysical compatibility between you and another person. That every sexual relation isn't really a relation, it's a non-relation. It's a relation without any built-in compatibility, right?
Yeah.
So that's right, but he also doesn't like this. He I don't think Todd likes the idea of everyone is on either side of this graph,
Yeah.
and you're either a feminine subject or a masculine subject. I think he has issues with that. But ultimately, it's the Sinthome he really doesn't like, because it creates this image of, an isolated subject, completely fragmented, with no way to forge a true collective uh solidarity with others. It's this island of jouissance thing.
Yep.
And he thinks that's basically non-dialectical, right? It's just this. It's almost like it turns us into a lump of jouissance with no meaningful symbolic mediation at play. And
Yeah.
so again, if you take it to that extreme, it's like that's just not true. Like we still have, I'm sorry, like Heideggerian being with, or Dossmann,
Yeah.
that's still operative for all of us. So this is where I'm like, I'm never sure, like if the point is capitalism is making us fragmented and atomized and isolated, well, yeah, does that mean all this other stuff? I don't know. Okay, that being said, this is all the stuff that's going to get discussed probably at the symposium, and we want to read the main thing. So Nancy, you want to start us off with this chapter on the Sinthome?
Do it. The symptom always has a double valence for psychoanalysis. It indicates the existence of a repressed desire. If there were no repression, the symptom wouldn't have developed. But at the same time, it expresses that desire in a symptomatic form. The symptom satisfies this subject. This satisfaction is what prevents the subject from just giving up the symptom. Symptoms bring excess suffering for the subject, but the subject is attached to them for the satisfaction that they provide. This is what leads subjects into psychoanalytic treatment.
Do we need to unpack? I think we already kind of
Yeah, I think we definitely went over that. Yeah.
Okay.
Psychoanalysis interprets symptoms by linking them to an underlying neurotic disorder. A patient comes to an analyst with a persistent cough that has no physiological cause. The analysis treats this cough as a symptom of the patient's neurosis, the form of expression that the patient's drive adopts due to the pressure of the disorder. Through the work of psychoanalysis, the patient becomes capable of interpreting this symptom rather than just suffering from it. This process doesn't necessarily eliminate the symptom, but allows the subject to recognize the satisfaction that it receives from the symptom. One can see one's desire manifesting where one formerly saw just unnecessary suffering. I think that's, yeah.
I think it's pretty clear cut.
Yeah. Late in his career, Lacan adopts a new position relative to the symptom. In Seminar 23, the Sinthome, 1975 through 76, he creates his final new concept, the symptome. The symptome is the privileged symptom within the subject's psyche. Lacan uses the old spelling of the word symptom in order to distinguish this privileged symptom from ordinary ones. The syntome has a privileged status because of what it accomplishes for the subject. It holds subjectivity together by operating in the stead of a missing master signifier. A subject lacking access to a master signifier can replace its function through the turn to a syntome. The final concept from Lacan marks his last theoretical misstep, a misstep that cements his turn away from the dialectical relationship between the subject and the symbolic order. It is impossible to integrate the concept of the syntome into the dialectical version of Lacan's theory from the middle period. A complete breach exists between the two periods when it comes to the syntome.
So I think we kind of know what that says. Because again, like when I was talking about this earlier, I think I gave the basics on this. Look, I mean, all he's trying to get at here is that the problem with the syntome, it becomes a non-dialectical element that structures the subject, which is to say, it's not connected to the symbolic in any robust way. It's ultimately just a form of jouissance, but it's a form of jouissance that isn't connected to the desire of the other. It's not, the type that's stands in contradiction to a master signifier that it's defying. It's just a lump of the real that holds the subject together, but in a way that orients the subject around its own idiosyncratic form of enjoyment.
It holds the subject
in that
together,
sense,
but it holds the subject together, but also apart from any connection or any non-relations.
And you're not concerned with any kind of contradiction between you and the other.
Yes.
That's it.
Unlike ordinary symptoms, the syntome is not the indication of an underlying neurosis. It is rather a structure that allows the subject to stave off a psychotic break. The psychoanalyst can liberate the subject from its more debilitating symptoms, but it leaves the syntome intact. The absence of a master signifier leaves the subject vulnerable to falling into full-blown psychosis. According to Lacan's theory, psychosis is the usual destiny for those that lack psychic access to a master signifier. The lack of the master signifier leaves psychotics unable to orient themselves within the symbolic order, so that they relate to this order through the imaginary. But the syntome compensates for this absence and gives the subject an ordering principle for its existence, which is why psychoanalysis doesn't try to interpret the syntome away.
So my problem, like what comes to mind right here is like, look, these three clinical structures, neurosis, psychosis, perversion. For Lacan, these are structures that take hold in the young subject. We're talking at like age 3 or something. So the problem is, okay, and this isn't a critique of Todd. It's more of just trying to understand Lacan's theory and not seeing how it all works or fits together. So the syntome is not the indication of an underlying neurosis. It is rather a structure that allows the subject to stave off a psychotic break. Okay. Well, so is the point. So there's a distinction between the clinical structure of psychosis and a psychotic break, I think, right? And this is where I wish we had a Lacanian clinician where we could ask him this. But the point is, so where, because I'm just not clear on all this. So, okay, can a neurotic have a psychotic break? I mean, I think a lot of therapists would say that's true. But in the Lacanian thing, would there always have to be an underlying structure of psychosis for the person to have a psychotic break? And the point is, people who have psychotic breaks, aren't they typically older? So they discover a syntome to hold themselves together later. It's like I'm not being clear. My thing is, how do these early onset clinical structures relate to an adult struggling on the verge of a psychotic break who gets a syntome? And I'm like, no, your clinical structure is already in place.
Children are
So I don't know how all this.
All children are psychotic.
Well, yeah, because they have to be made neurotic. Well, yeah. But no, it's weird, right? Even the psychotic subject, has to be made, because you're not actually a psychotic until you properly reject or foreclose until you the go name through of the father.
Yeah, no,
So that's why it's almost like the baby, the subject, prior to a confrontation with prohibition or the name of the father, is like a larval subject or a nascent subject. It's not even psychotic or neurotic or pervert. Like it's a potential subject.
I wonder how heavily kind of retroactivity comes into play here. And I wonder if there is something to do with, we'll say, fully entering the world of, I don't know, prohibition. Like, yeah, you enter the world of prohibition as a child, but you don't really fully enter it until you're an autonomous citizen, right? Like like working and bills and like law and consequence and reproduction.
That's a good point.
Like, so I wonder how much of this is like a retroactive, like, yeah, the structure is kind of laid in at an early age, but it doesn't really come to operate full steam ahead until later in life.
Yeah, but kids, if you look at the earliest kids who have learned a little bit of language and a little bit of social protocols, look how much they wield prohibition against other kids. You can't do that. That's mine.
Well, they're experimenting.
Like, I'm just saying, like, they quickly have some sense of you can't do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want.
So, well, yeah, and this is where, for me, I do tend to just say, yeah, I this doesn't need to be concrete. Like these structures, like for me, I'm not analyzing a person, and I'm not sitting here and doing this and that. Like, I'm just saying, oh, I see these structures at work in the social and in like ideology and civilization.
We're not sitting down with another human subject trying to, help them with their symptom in some way.
Yeah. So I to me, this stuff is like, oh yeah, it's a little bit in the weeds and it's a little bit too academic.
I'm just saying that James Joyce was older.
He was a full-grown man.
His writing style.
Yeah. He didn't come up with
his writing style is his Sinthome.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to say. Well, how does him finding his writing style relate to whatever clinical structure he had since childhood? That's my only point.
Yeah, and that's why I think it makes more sense to preserve the dialectical relationship. And just, oh no, we have like this kind of super egoic big other. We have, if the Baromean knot, I almost said Gordian knot, if the Sinthome is this like irreducible, inexplicable enjoyment, I don't know. I don't know, man. It gets too fucky for me.
All right, this is a little bit just a side note or a side rant. But look, nobody gives us shit more than Todd over using jargon. But here's the thing. He uses jargon, and the piece of jargon that I would say to him, because I just had I've had this problem what feels like a gazillion times since I started doing philosophy when I was 21. Well, okay. So should we even use this fucking word dialectical? I kind of fucking hate it. And out of all the words,
I know we've had this conversation.
I kind of hate it most.
I know.
Cause like I posted something about Todd, a quote. I think it was the last paragraph of this, what we're reading. And Todd says something about dialectics, and then everybody starts chiming in.
Yep.
Well, that's not dialectics, and I'm not breaking their ball. Like on the off chance that somebody in the comments of that post is here, I'm not giving you shit. I'll give myself as much shit. All of us are fucking equivocating though. None of
Yep.
us, we all are using the same signifier.
Yep.
None of us are on the same
Yep.
signified page.
Yep.
And I'm just over this fucking word where like somebody I said, well, dialectics is tearing with the negative. Now I could sit here and unpack it and
Yeah.
but then he came back, he's like, well, dialectics is not identical to contradiction. Well, I didn't fucking say that. Like, and okay, and like, so everybody thinks they knows what they mean. None of us are using the same shared
Yeah.
concept. And everybody who starts talking about fucking dialectics, like
Yeah.
Swole was in there and he was like, history is not anything if not dialectical. And I'm like, but Swole's using it in this fucking, typical Marxist sense. These other guys have something else in mind. They're like, somebody's going to be thinking in terms of, oh, it's the activity of synthesizing opposites. It's like,
Yeah.
no, like, and so none of us are talking about the same fucking thing. And yet it appears to be. And I just kind of hate this fucking word because every time I start talking dialectics with anybody who isn't you or Todd,
Yeah.
it all it is, oh, well, what are we even talking about?
I hate that it's so easy to use because I've repeatedly same thing. Like I hate that word. I hate using it. Similar to like postmodern and postmodernism and postmodernity. These are three words that I hate using, but I use all the time. Dialectics is another one that it's just so fucking easy to use, to fall into using it without even realizing. But it is a horrible fucking word. Like it's been bastardized. It means whatever you want it to mean.
I see what it means to me. I typically think dialectics in terms of ecstasy.
Yes.
Like what you're doing when you do dialectics is interrogating how one thing is this thing that
A
it would
equals
claim
not
that
A.
it's not. Yeah.
A equals not A. Like to me that it.
Yes.
But it's not just A equals not A. It's also the process of how and why that happens and why that matters. And
but the problem is everybody thinks it's this oppositional thing between one thing and another. And I'm like, no, when Hegel starts doing his thing, I mean, first thing in phenomenology, sense certainty, all he's showing you is how sense certainty turns out to be what it said it wasn't, the very opposite of what it like. And I can't help but think of it in terms of like egoic identifications. Like it wants to be this thing.
Yeah.
And then it starts trying to be that thing and it finds out it's the exact opposite.
Yeah.
That's not it and some other mode of consciousness. It's the internal contradiction of sense certainty itself. And so what it finds is that at its core is this extant. It's this thing that it would say is radically other than itself or radically contradictory with itself is the very extant core of what it is.
Right.
And so tearing with the negative is investigating these different, how a thing is internally divided and non-identical with itself. And the specific way in which it's non-identical to itself makes up its
is
identity.
What makes the thing. Yeah, dude.
But would anybody in the comments who were commenting, no, of course they don't know that's the specific thing I'm talking about. Because it's a very idiosyncratic definition of it.
I think like constitutive negation or constitutive negativity or constitutive lack.
Contradiction.
I think these are all good ways to say it. But also dialectics, it is such an easy word to use because it also, it's not just the fact of the matter. It's also the fact that it's a process. It's a singular process. It's like, that's why I always want to do dialectics.
Yeah, but the thing is, the average person who's against dialectics don't like it as a process because they think it's a process that culminates in wholeness and completion, which is the exact opposite of what it is.
Yeah.
And, or at least for me and Todd and Zizek and you and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's also teleological. It has some sort of like, final causality at play. No, that's not like, so if you think it's a teleological process, if you think it's a process geared towards completion or grand synthesis, if you think it's a process that culminates in the completion of knowledge, then you might not like it. Like, so I'm like, and that is just not what any of us over here are talking about.
No,
And so I just am like, should we just use a different? And I almost say, Todd, can we make up a new fucking word and start from scratch?
No,
It's too fucking
no.
tiring to have this discussion with somebody every time that's why I try not to use the term.
Yeah, that is one of the few watchwords of mine that I always seem to overuse because it's on my list of words to be careful about. I always overuse it.
Well, okay. When I was younger, like one of the main influences on me, like in my late 20s, was Heidegger.
Mm,
And I learned back then, I'm like, okay, if I'm in a room with five philosophers who come from different philosophical backgrounds, if we all start using the word being,
yeah.
this is going nowhere fucking fast. Dialectic is like that. It's
Yep.
one of these
Yep.
terms from philosophy that at this point is just completely useless
Yeah.
as far as like all of us getting clear about what we're talking about and being on the same page.
Yeah. It's funny.
So,
Um, when I'm around my grandma, I don't swear, and I don't even have to
mhm.
think about it. It's just like I flip into a different attunement. I attune to my grandma, and I'm like, okay, I watch my mouth. I don't say uh overly provocative things. Even it's not even about using curse words. It's about I don't let my true feelings be known. I don't I won't talk to her about why she shouldn't be racist and all this. Like it doesn't matter. It's not worth it. It's just my grandma. I'm gonna just try to make my time with her as enjoyable as can be, or as pleasant as can be. Um, and that's like not even no effort. It's just a mode. It's just an attunement. We
Yeah.
like that is. I need to get in that same mode, or I need to develop that same strategy with other words like dialectics and postmodernity and shit like that. Because yeah,
Yeah.
they are
Postmodernity
no
is
no
another one.
words. We shouldn't use them without unpacking them. And if we're going to make the effort to unpack them, we should just say it in a different way. We should come up with a
Yeah, but
better
it's
way to say it.
easier. Like difference and OJR and body without organs,
Yeah.
they're easier because they don't mean a gazette. Yes, there's a lot of
Yeah.
components to them, but dialectics means so like
It can
it goes
almost
back
mean
to fucking
anything, dude.
Plato and fucking
Yeah.
start talking about Kant, and then it's the
Yeah.
Hegelian thing, and then yeah, I remember reading a fucking I don't even what was that fucking book called? I read a book on Hegel 20 years ago, and I think was it called Understanding Hegelianism? And basically, this guy talks about how all of these subsequent thinkers took up Hegel. And like he basically talking about how each one of them used the term dialectics, and every fucking one of them used it differently. And it's
Mhm.
like, God. So okay, all right, dialectic rant over. But
Over. All right. In Seminar 23, Lacan focuses on James Joyce for his way of compensating for the absence of a paternal metaphor or master signifier in his psyche. As Lacan sees it, Joyce writes Finnegan's Wake in the way that he does, inventing his own language in the act of writing, to give himself a structure that would rescue him from the absence of a master signifier. Even though Joyce writes an unreadable novel, the writing itself creates an individualized symptom that saves him from falling into psychosis. The unreadable nature of Finnegan's Wake, a fact that Lacan appreciates rather than derides, is essential to its status as a symptom. The symptom organizes the subject's jouissance, but itself has no signification. The nonsense of the symptom provides a point of anchorage for the world of sense. Joyce's form of writing is a symptom of his own psyche, and yet it gives an order to his subjectivity. So again, that's like the private worlds, solipsism. Like it's a retreat. It's not an
and that's
encounter. It's a retreat.
and so yeah, it's a kind of like yeah, Joyce could talk to you if you went up to him.
For sure.
Like he could use language. He wasn't like a catatonic psychotic. Um, but the it's like he couldn't form an actual symbolic bond with you. Um, he could interact with you, but the point is, if you cannot form a greater symbolic identification that organizes your life, then it is like some kind of libidinal solipsism
Yeah.
is the problem. And I mean, look, this is where somebody can easily take this and go, well, look around at Zoomers. Like, they're
Mm-hmm.
all lonely. Half of them don't have any friends. They interact with the world through mediated screens,
Yep.
which is to say, like, they don't really get at the desire of the other in any meaningful sense. Um, they don't seem to share any collective duty with others, and they just sit around on their fucking phones enjoying their phone however their preferred way of enjoying their phone, like.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's the symptom, but I get how you can take this idea of um this isolated, almost self-contained solipsistic subject of enjoyment and use it to try to explain what we're dealing with. I mean,
But
because again, yeah,
I still think that is addressed at the other. Ultimately, at the end of the day, like, the kids do have a non-relation, and they are still like, that is like all that like retreat, and they're on the phone all the time, and they're fragmented, and everything is hyper niche, and like all this, like it still is addressed at the other. It still is addressed at like differentiating yourself and being an individual, and like there is still this collective idea of being. I mean, the shit we were talking about with, if you don't have the right position and you don't perform the proper speech act on the internet for everyone to see you, then you're canceled and you're depersoned and you're objectified in this weird way. Like, that's an address to the other as well, because like,
yeah,
there still is, even though it's changed, it's radically changed, which is why this matters in the first place, because we have to like resituate ourselves. We can't just do Marxism 2.0 and fucking Soviet Union 2.0. But I still think like there is a master signifier somewhere amidst all this, because they are still ultimately addressing the other. They are still ultimately trying to perform what their super egoic model of a proper person is.
and that's there it is. That's why I keep going back. It's not that we don't have a master signifier, it's that our master signifier is enjoy.
Yes.
And it's a master signifier that says, don't have master signifiers, pursue your own idiosyncratic enjoyment. But that's different
Yes.
than just having a form of idiosyncratic enjoyment as the thing that holds you together.
Yep.
Which isn't a like, no, it is a collective duty to super egoic capital.
Yeah. Yeah. Break the rules in all the right ways.
Duty to do your own thing.
You must break the rules in just the right way. And if you don't, then you're unpersoned.
Yes.
But that's still an address to the other,
different than what a Sinthome is.
I think so, but I mean, I don't fucking know, but I think so. And I think that's what Todd's on about.
Do psychotics actually long? Do actual clinical psychotics long for deep social bonds? They don't seem to.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, you can go Google. Have you ever watched the clip? Maybe we should just show. Have you ever seen the clip of the catatonic psychotic talking?
I probably have, but I don't know what.
Let's see. I'll see if I can find it too.
Here, let me switch screens real quick to pull it up.
Catatonic schizophrenia. And then it's like 10 minutes long. It's catatonic schizophrenic. You see it?
Not yet.
It says interview catatonic schizophrenic.
I don't belong here. The peculiar face of schizophrenic patient 18 is a guy that looks like Sheldon from.
That's him.
Okay.
Can you play it where I can hear it too?
Yeah, let me do some movie magic. The snack.
Now, to the best of my knowledge, this is an authentic video of a catatonic schizophrenic. I saw one person years ago say, I think that was like that guy was acting. And okay, if that's the case, then that's news to me, because I mean, I don't think, but this, if he's acting, he did a hell of a job.
Oh, that's weird. All right, let's see. Can you see it?
How are you feeling?
Can you hear it?
Well, how long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you here?
That's difficult to answer.
Could you give me some idea?
Offhand, I can't.
Whose idea was it that you come here?
A psychiatrist.
And what happened that ended up with your being here in the hospital?
The psychiatrist decided that this was the situation for me.
And did he tell you why?
No, the psychiatrist did not.
Has anybody told you why?
No.
Have you any idea why?
Yes.
And what is that?
I am not completely like other people.
What do you mean by that?
People dislike me because I am not completely like them.
And in what way are you different?
I am trying to do with my life something which few people try to do. And this influences my thinking and consequently my actions.
What is it you're trying to do with your life?
Play the piano for people.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
I sit differently when I play the piano, and when I'm away from the piano, I occasionally look differently from other people, and this has caused dislike from people.
They dislike you because you sit differently at the piano?
Yes.
What way do you sit at the piano that people would dislike you?
I cannot describe an illustration of how I sit.
And I can't imagine it, that it would make people angry at you, or at least dislike you. How do you know they dislike you?
My father does, and doctors do, because of the way I appear in relationship to the way I sit at the piano, and occasionally stand when I'm away from the piano because of the way I sit at the piano.
How do you stand when you're away from the piano that they dislike you?
I can't describe an illustration.
Does it feel to you any different from the way other people stand?
I mean, it's because it just keeps going. But I mean, this is where you go, okay, yes, he's having sensory experiences. Yes, he can use language. Is he in the world, though? No, he's not. There's this, and it's weird. He is, because he's among us, and but is he tapped in to what you and I are tapped into?
No, he's not being with us. He's not being with us. He's not. Sorry, dude. You're in a different referential totality entirely.
And so here's the thing. If that's a clinical schizophrenic, and of course let's leave the D&G out of it. Okay. Sure. Schizophrenia. Okay. Let's just say that's a psychotic. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. That is not what kids who are lonely on their phones are.
No.
So all I'm trying to say is we need to be careful when using psychosis, because I think we're using it metaphorically.
Yeah.
If we apply it to kids lonely with their phone.
Well, and earlier today when we were discussing the reaction to Charlie Kirk, like we brought up
the people you're referring to, they're not that though.
Right. Like that's the thing. Like I'm using the word psychotic and saying like I think that's psychotic to describe one very specific operation that I think is happening. And I think it's a psychotic operation, but I don't think those people are psychotic. Like I think it is a perverse. I think they are perverse. They're perverted. Like a lot of people
I don't think we have a soft version of what that guy has.
No.
So like ordinary psychosis, like I think Millier describes it. Well, it's like soft psychosis. I'm like, okay, call it what you want. I'm sorry. I don't have a soft version of what that dude has, a hard version.
No, dude,
because I don't have what that guy has.
You can, like, people that are in these weird new dynamics of libidinal solipsism, like, that breaks and you go out into the world and you still interact and you still have normal social relations with people, and you can hold the door and you can make a joke and you can, share some collective.
He has to pause. He has to pause before he uses language. It's never his.
It doesn't.
Sorry, Todd.
Roll, dude.
He's not at home. Sorry, Todd.
Right.
He's not at home in the big other.
Right.
The way that we are.
Right.
And where it's like we just can spontaneously. And no, I'm not trying to do home in some substantialized, but like.
Right.
The way that we're positioned in relation to the symbolic word, he ain't there.
No.
And I'm just saying, I don't know if I like, this is why I think I prefer, can we just use superego to discuss what's going on instead of psychosis?
Yeah. I get it. I feel similarly towards like using autism or lofting autism as a new potential structure that maybe we're all becoming more autistic. Like I've worked with severely autistic kids in the past. Like I've worked with kids who don't use language at all and who don't know how to control their emotions and will physically lash out and will harm you or harm others or harm themselves. And that's autism. And then we also have this way watered down version of autism that gets tossed around on the internet. Oh, we're autistic and Asperger's isn't a thing anymore. And it's just all a spectrum and it's all inclusive. But like when we talk about the autism, are we talking about like that hard autism who's like the non-language person who's just, sorry to say it, very burdensome on their family and their loved ones and the structures around them, and they can still be beautiful, wonderful, loving people in a family unit or in a closed support system, but for the rest of the world, that person's not going to make it. But then we have someone like Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory, and he's also on the autism spectrum, right? And so how are we using it? I feel the same way about psychosis or the psychotic, like because that person is never going to work at McDonald's, but Sheldon Cooper can work at McDonald's. Sheldon Cooper is a fictional character from The Big Bang Theory for anyone who doesn't know. If you don't know, maybe I'm dating myself. Maybe I'm showing my age.
But Rain Man's not going to work at McDonald's.
Rain Man, yeah. I'm sure there's the Good Doctor. Isn't that a show? I am a surgeon. That's a meme that I've seen recently.
I don't know that one.
But yeah, like there's severe disablement, and then there's people who can get by, and if they can get by, they're not severely
and then
disabled.
They just have cutesy quirks.
Yeah, quirked up. Yeah, like get you. Yeah, come on,
Sheldon
guy.
with no. This is my spot. I sit here. Like, all right.
Yeah.
But really autism in the sense that like a poor kid with like, I don't know how to talk clinically appropriate, but full blown autism. No, that's not.
Yeah. And it, like, when using this language, when talking about like autism or talking about ordinary psychosis or the psychotic, like, well, I understand the impulse to want to use this language because it does seem to capture something about what's going on. It does. It really does. I think fucking the generalized foreclosure and Twain and all that is great. And I love Leon's work, but also I feel like thinking about the superego and thinking about, like, I guess what we're talking about, where it's like we're in a new relation, like the media environment, the material environment, all this stuff is forcing us into new relations, but it's not disappearing this back and forth, and it's not eradicating the ecstasy, and it's not solving this contradiction by completely removing you from the social field. You're still enmeshed in the social field. The psychotic and the severe autist, they're not really immersed in the social field. They are put in specialized institutions that are kind of directed at them. They are solipsistic in this way, that the world they live in really does revolve around them. Or,
I mean, if we put it in Heideggerian terms, we'd almost say they're being out the world or something.
Yeah. Really. What they're not being with us. Right. Sure, they're being, but they're definitely not being with us or being alongside us.
And we might have being with them in a sense, because we know that they're not fully with us.
Yeah.
And so we have this sense of duty to care about them or what, but are they with us? I mean,
yeah.
So, okay. Where were we in here?
Just under, Lacan emphasizes.
Okay. I see it.
All right. Lacan emphasizes the failure of the paternal metaphor for Joyce. This is what necessitates the form of writing that he adopts. According to Lacan, Joyce came up with a compensation for the paternal failing. In the abeyance of the name of the father, the Sinthome gives the subject the ability to orient itself in the world, which is why Lacan finds the Sinthome so important.
Again, it's just saying, like, okay, well, the name of the father, some sense of mandated symbolic identity, right? That failed to be the organizing principle of Joyce's being in the world. So he found kind of like a makeshift, substitute, which was an anchoring form of enjoyment.
I kind of feel like the Sinthome is a little too convenient. It's like a Deus ex machina in a way, where it's like this operation that is subjectivity doesn't work. But
okay, so my problem is, and I always have said this, like, Lacan's doing the return to Freud. Let's return to Freud. Where are these robust case studies?
Yeah.
Like, okay, James Joyce wasn't his patient. He just, he did this, like, and it's almost like akin to interpreting a movie. Like I do that all the time. Great.
Yep.
But if you're a clinician, where's the clinical examples? And so what I've always wanted, can I get more clinical examples of symptoms? Like, can I see what one is for each different subject? Because we don't have a lot. I mean, Todd gives this example from Pulp Fiction, but it's like he's doing a theoretical thing. Like, but no, I want clinical examples of, okay, this is this person's symptom. We don't interpret it away because it'll destroy the person and blah, blah, blah. I just need more to go off of than James Joyce's writing style.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too.
And again, if it's all about a return to Freud, then return to writing. Where are all these? There's so many Lacanian clinicians. Where's the flood of case studies? Do they exist and I just don't know about them? Maybe that is legitimately the case. But all right, anybody who's watching this, if you know, like, oh, Mikey's just a dipshit, he doesn't know, then please send me the Lacanian case studies that give examples of all this shit.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah. I don't think they exist.
I don't either. So, all right.
The subject has recourse to the Sinthome in order to hold together the symbolic, imaginary, and real registers. It plays a part in knotting subjectivity together, specifically through a Borromean knot, the figure that fascinates Lacan throughout his late period. The Borromean knot shows how the imaginary, symbolic, and real interlock as three separate pieces of string. But in Seminar 23, Lacan introduces the idea that the figure of the Borromean knot would fall apart without the addition of the Sinthome. It is a fourth agency that keeps the subject from disintegrating. It saves the contemporary subject that exists in a world lacking a clear master signifier. The Sinthome makes up for the failure of the paternal function in the social order.
See, and I could, I'm able to kind of snap out of being, Lacanian, Ziziekian, and just kind of, because I was doing philosophy for many years before I discovered Lacan and Zizek. I almost want to go, dude, okay, take the jargon out of it. What you just said is some form of excitation in my central nervous system functions to hold together all the other forms of jouissance in my libidinal economy. It holds together my perceptual experience of the world, which is the imaginary. And it holds together the virtual structure of how does a fucking form of excitation in my central nervous system hold these three different realms of my world together? Now, you see, if you want to, if you step back and you say, okay, I'm not a Lacanian Zizekian at the moment. I'm bracketing all that shit. I'm just a philosopher. If you start saying, how the fuck does that work? What's the causality? Why? This is where, like, an analytic philosopher who doesn't have any transference on Lacan or Zizek would just go, well, that's a bunch of fucking claims.
Yeah.
That, well, it's backed up in clinical experience. Okay. But how? Okay, fine. I don't understand how you're saying, because jouissance is it is a flow of sensations in our central nervous system. And somehow the specific excitation generated from Joyce's writing style somehow stabilized his perceptual experience of the world, his conceptual experience of the world. See what I mean, Nance? Yeah. When you kind of step back, you go, "What the fuck are we even talking about?"
It is. It's very convenient. It's very magic with a K. It's very. I don't know. To me. It's. I don't know. I don't know, man.
And again, okay, Lacanian clinicians want to say, well, this is why you guys shouldn't be taking this into a philosophical register, because it's meant as a tool for us to use to orient ourselves with, and it's not meant to be something that you actually think the metaphysics of the singularity of the subject through.
Cool.
Okay, fine.
Cool.
But I also know that all that other shit that you guys talk about, fantasy, desire, drive, superego, it does apply to all of us. So
Yep.
I don't know. I'm just saying, when you step back and think about it outside of the jargon and the internal logic of Lacanian theory, somebody else could just look at it and go, you're going to need to do more argumentation than that.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's all I got on that. And then we get the Tarantino example.
We can see an instance of the Sinthome in the way that dialogue functions in Quentin Tarantino's films. His films include long sequences of dialogue that exist for their own sake, as a site for enjoyment that doesn't advance the narrative. The exchange that hitman Jules, Sam Jackson, and Vincent, John Travolta, have before they go to shoot their next victims shows how dialogue works as a Sinthome in Pulp Fiction. Vincent regales Jules with a description of different customs in Europe, including what the French call a McDonald's quarter pounder with cheese, a Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese.
The discussion between Jules and Vincent doesn't have anything to do with the upcoming hit or their ultimate destinies in the film. It is a narrative detour, but it is nonetheless one of the most quoted scenes in Hollywood history. As a Sinthome, it holds the film together in a way that the narrative structure does not. The filmic narrative is atemporal and fragmented, but the scene of dialogue enables spectators to structure their enjoyment of the film. The dialogue as Sinthome, not the narrative or of the ideas driving the films, is what makes Tarantino an appealing filmmaker to some. The predominance of the Sinthome over the narrative and the form in his films is also what turns others off.
That would be Todd. He doesn't like Tarantino.
Yeah, I can't really blame him. I think Tarantino's overhyped, but I also don't hate him.
I kind of love those movies, so I'd be the one who finds the enjoyment in just the excess dimension of it.
I do, and I mean, I like Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, but other than that, like Kill Bill didn't do it for me. The Hateful Eight didn't do it for me. It is clever, and
Inglourious Bastards.
Inglourious Bastards was good, but there's also like just we're killing Nazis, man. Like, and also I think Christoph Waltz is the reason Inglourious Bastards was as good, and Brad Pitt. Like their two performances are just fucking spot on, dude.
So I have this like Todd and I recorded a thing, and then it never got released, but he and I discussed Tarantino, and I told him, I'm like, no, I like it because I think it is just American cinema at its pure, like, I don't think there's any subtext to Tarantino. It is just surface level.
Yeah.
You know, think about it. Like, do you really ever find yourself able to unpack a Tarantino movie the way you could say Fight Club or a movie? No, like there's nothing. And Todd was like, I hate this. There's no, and I'm like, but I almost love it because I think it's American enjoyment at, like, there is no depth to it. It's just,
you get to skate along the surface.
All it is.
You're skating along the surface. It's friction free.
I mean, maybe the only thing he kind of left out, what's in the briefcase in Pulp Fiction? Okay. But besides that, I don't think there's much. Is there any like unconscious, unspoken dynamics
I don't think there's
to
anything.
The characters?
I don't even think what's in the briefcase matters all that much. I think that he threw the bone to the people who wanted more. But I think for the most part, like, it is all surface level, pure excess in this very American way. And I mean, that is, I think, what I enjoy about Inglourious Bastards and Reservoir Dogs. Like, it's just like, yeah, you're here for it. You don't think, turn your brain off. Like, let the movie have the driver's seat for a while. Like, instead of saying Jesus take the wheel, you get to sit back and say movie take the wheel.
Well, they're also like big budget fantasies. I mean, all of them, like
Yeah.
in one way, shape, or another. And again, I think that's just American, like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just because most of our fantasies are not actually these deep, subtle scenarios. They're just cartoonish
Yeah.
daydreams that, and I feel like there's this cartoonish dimension to even like his most serious shit. I mean, real cartoonish shit is like Death Proof, right?
Yeah. And I think I prefer Death Proof to like Kill Bill.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I want the pure juvenile, no, this is dumb. Give me Grindhouse. Give me dumb.
What about Django?
Django, I think it's a great watch. I think Leonardo DiCaprio and Sam Jackson, again, maybe it's just I can get lost in their performances and I don't have to think about anything. Like for the moment, it is a cartoon. Like it's a release from being an adult. Nothing is real, nothing matters. I fully invest in those characters.
Aren't they a barcade? Aren't his movies basically the barcade? Like
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the Wage, Labor, and Juice, or Why the Left Needs Zizek piece that I wrote. I said the barcade is this weird thing because it's completely for adults. There's drinking and everybody's getting drunk and everybody's trying to get laid, but it's all against the background of all cartoonish images. Like, hey, look at that image of Chunk from Goonies, and
Yeah.
oh, there's the Ghostbusters, and oh,
Teenage
there's
Mutant Ninja
Gizmo.
Turtles.
Like,
Yeah.
exactly. And so it's this weird thing of mixing like all of the funnest components of childhood with the most fun components of adulthood. And isn't that what a Tarantino movie ultimately is?
Yeah.
Like extreme vulgar violence mixed with these cartoonish over the top dialogues and characters.
It's an actual escape. It's film as escapism. And film used to be about escapism at some point, at least.
The most grounded wouldn't it be Jackie Brown?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Because Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which has consistently grown on me. I couldn't stand the movie the first time I saw it. Now it's in the running for my favorite Tarantino movie, I think.
Yeah.
But ultimately it is just this fantasy, like, oh, we all wish this is how it would have went with the Sharon Tate situation. And he made a whole movie out of that. And
I think, yeah, dude, I think Tarantino is just like unabashed escape. Enjoy, escape, fantasize, kick your feet up, relax.
And he's on, like, how many waves of different forms of intensity can I send through the viewer? Like, watch what this character says. Watch this type of violence.
You're disgusted. You're abhorred. You're emotionally invested. You're like it's a roller coaster. It's riding a roller coaster.
And so I see why Todd, it's like the cinema of idiosyncratic, idiotic jouissance.
Yeah.
So, all right. Enough of Tarantino.
Lacan theorizes the Sinthome at the time when he claims that non-relation has the last word on relation. In the late period of his philosophy, the signifying chain ceases to be a chain at all. The sexual non-relation interrupts it so that the master signifier can have no way at all of relating to the other signifiers. The triumph of non-relation causes the master signifier to stop playing its structuring role for the psyche. Set adrift by non-relation, the subject cannot orient itself through this signifier. This is where the Sinthome comes to the subject's aid.
Okay. That's just a kind of another way of art. That's where, like, it's funny, like, that's him as a theorist kind of restating what he said, but now he's bringing in the relation, non-relation thing to add another layer to it. So that's kind of like almost like an expansion pack paragraph just for the sake of adding in another conceptual layer to it.
Yeah. The turn to the Sinthome is itself symptomatic of Lacan's late sexuation period. In contrast to the name of the father or master signifier, the Sinthome is particular to the individual subject. While many subjects can have a master signifier in common, no one can share a Sinthome with another subject. Each subject must form its own Sinthome as a way of compensating for the absence of a structuring master signifier.
That's again, islands of jouissance, idiosyncratic enjoyment, solipsism, soft psychosis. If you know, that's where this is at.
When analysis allows the subject to recognize its Sinthome as the way that it structures its jouissance, this recognition does not lead the subject out of its sense of isolation. It ensconces the subject in its particular form of jouissance and doesn't enable the subject to recognize the inherent connection between this jouissance and the other. What provides coherence for one subject cannot provide it for any other. Conceptualizing the Sinthome as an individualized version of the master signifier bespeaks the absence of any dialectical relation. Isolation replaces contradiction.
Which would be the same as to say solipsism replaces collectivity.
Yeah, and I like that's I don't know, man. I do feel like it is Lacan giving ground a little bit. It's like, no, that's what capital, that's what the commodity, that's what value, exchange, MCM prime, whatever. Like that's what's.
Or let me steel man him. What if he said, no, this what I'm getting at here is the effect of capital. It is what pushes people in this direction. That's
the thing. And like, that's what capital is trying to do to us. But just giving up and saying, well, this is the world we live in now. Like, I feel like that is like giving ground.
Yeah. What is the clinic of the, like, if you can't tamper with the Sinthome,
right?
Because I don't know. It's like, well, is the point to try to get them to have a master signifier so they can let the Sinthome go? I've never heard a Lacanian say that.
You just leave it. So
is it defeatism? The clinic of defeatism?
That's to me like what it's like if Lacan was just describing what the commodity is trying to do to us all, I'd be like, yeah, sure. Hell yeah. That's but nevertheless we persist. Like nevertheless, the social does still exist and we are still out here trying to.
So the Sinthome is him saying the commodity won.
I think so.
That's a good point. That's a strong point you're making and I like that. But capital won.
Yeah. And I feel like, hey, dude, we're not there yet. Like, we're not ready to throw in the towel, which is why I think it matters that we say, well,
that's a good point, Nance.
Maybe if we just look at capital as this kind of super egoic feedback loop that is manipulating our jouissance, and it's like, I think that's a better way to look at it than to just say, oh, yeah, Sinthome, we're all
and
fucked.
There's nothing we can do to get you to a master signifier. That's
just objectifying. That's saying, oh, the Sinthome is your essence. The Sinthome you
are forever a solipsistic subject. There's nothing we can do except accept it.
That's why I don't go for it. But I'm also man. I'm not a Lacanian scholar, but I know for me, from my position, it does.
I want to ask him if there's nothing to do for this type of person. Stop taking their money at least, because what are you doing if you admit there's nothing to do for them?
Yeah.
You can't adjust the Sinthome. And then the question is, well, is the Sinthome, it's weird. The traditional symptom, the compulsively washing your hands until there's no skin basically on you, that's a problem. Yeah. That needs to be, on some level, be modified, right? That's an unbearable symptom. The Sinthome seems to be doing the opposite. Like if the symptom is undermining the flow of your life, it seems like Joyce's Sinthome gave him structure and stability, which is
it gave him fine. No, it gave him structure and stability in a totally isolated, alienated way where it's just as destructive. I'm sorry, more destructive to the social if everyone is just going to retreat into private worlds where they have private languages and they're not ever actually having a symbolic bond with another, like at least the person with raw hands can put bandages on and have a conversation.
Look what the fuck I'm doing to myself. Help me, brother.
Yeah. So I do think, I don't know. I think the Sinthome is this weird anti-human thing. But maybe it's not. I don't know. That's why, like, hey, once again, if there's case studies,
why Todd doesn't like it.
Yeah, for sure, for 100,000,000%.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're home stretch. We're almost there.
Yep. When discussing the Sinthome, Lacan insists that one cannot interpret it away. To do so would risk depriving the subject of what holds it together. This turn away from interpretation marks a dramatic departure from Lacan's earlier thinking, which foregrounded both the subject's interpretation of the other's desire and the analyst's interpretation of the subject. The Sinthome doesn't require interpretation because it is a site of jouissance, not a gap or contradiction where desire might emerge. Come on, dude.
So there's nothing to do with the fuck.
No, it's just so, like, this, that seems silly to me, dude. Like,
interpretation.
This is getting to the point of, it's like, you're a special snowflake and everyone deep down has a special magical essence and it's incorruptible and it's irreducible and it's ineffable, like,
and inarticulable.
It's like, come on, dude. Like, we already have this, like, inarticulable, unknowable, unmanageable thing. We already have that in subjectivity itself. So why do you need to double down and isolate us? Like, the fact that it's not just like the subject retreating from the social. It's like the subject is removed from the social at that point. Like, that's why that again, talking about superegoic AI, it's like, no, this, like, we're still very much playing a ball game here. But this is like, game's over. We went home years ago. We're all fucking dead. I don't know.
And I'm just like, dude, and this emphasis on having a master signifier, I don't know if I have a master signifier, but I'm fully immersed in the symbolic order. I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't know if there's just one ring to rule them all. Like, freedom or America or equality or whatever you're fucking like. It seems to me most people have different master signifiers in different contexts and different, like, there's different organizing principles. Most of them kind of overlap or what, but this idea of like the one master sig that gives the one thing.
The only thing that could for me ever possibly has ever potentially, like, filled the role of a master signifier is like good.
Yeah.
Like, just the notion of be good, do good. And from there we have this, like, cascade of, well, what does that mean? And, like, be good in what way? And, oh, let's read Kant. Let's talk about,
Right.
But I think we do have a master signifier that's maybe good, maybe human.
But I know skateboarding is a constant structure of your life.
Yeah.
Your family is.
Yeah.
Your philosophy, your writing of fiction, all of these are anchor points in your life. And we all have multiple if I could be at my best, and that is not some idealized, I'm a substance, I'm perfected, I'm whole. No.
Your actual
me thriving in my incompleteness
best.
and contradiction. Having my time, energy is part of it. Having a robust standard of living, not being Jeff Bezos, but just a reliable, good,
1950s Americana. Fuck it.
Yes. Being able to do philosophy every day.
Yeah.
Being able to have access to old retro video games. Like, there's just things that I need as, and people could go, well, are they symptoms? Are they master signifiers? I don't fucking know. They're anchoring points.
Yeah.
They're quilting points for me. And again,
Yeah.
Todd makes this distinction between master signifier and quilted. But I mean, I understand anchoring points. I get that. And I just don't think there has to be one over and above all others. And I don't know, the S1 thing that Lacan always does, and it makes this master signifier. There's one exceptional signifier that organizes all the others. I don't know, man. I think I instead of using like the image of the master,
Yeah.
it's almost like there's an aristocracy of signifiers, the way I see it.
I think very much so. And I think that, like, ultimately the master signifier is just good. And like, it's all just different variations of good in context and contextualized. And just like there's a chain of being, there's a chain of signification. And there's always this like, you're
kind of sounding Platonic here. It goes back to the form of the good.
No, I think that's it. And I think like we could do a Lamarckian fucking genealogy of signifiers, and I think it would pan out. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like, bitch, we ain't got time for that shit. Like, we understand that there are these things that root us in the social, and the idea of, I don't know, equality. Sure, maybe it's not the ultimate master signifier, but it can serve as like a very important road sign along the way. Liberty, justice, ethics. Although ethics is a totally different question. That's another one of the no words that we should always unpack whenever we talk about it. But no, I think we have very prominent like intersections on the
beautiful is one. I mean,
yeah, aesthetics. I mean, entirely, like, that's an entirely different, I don't know, but I just think like there's a lack of a master signifier, and so because of that, you develop this unique snowflake essence that somehow holds you together.
Snowflake jouissance.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
Good. Funny. All right, let's finish this thing. We got what, 2 more?
Yeah, not a gap or contradiction. The abandonment of interpretation is simultaneously the whole okay, we'll finish and then I'll complain. The abandonment of interpretation is simultaneously a turn away from theorizing the social totality. Boom. Thank you, Todd. Fucking that's exactly it. Granting the subject its syntome allows it to find its singularity apart from a struggle with the master signifier. Theorizing the syntome as a replacement for the master signifier eliminates the emphasis on the failure of the master signifier. Rather than seeing subjectivity emerge where the master signifier fails, Lacan gives up on the relation between them.
Hold on, and I should just say, like, that's like, if hysteria is the core dimension of subjectivity, what is hysteria? Why are you telling me I am what you're telling me I am? It is this doubt about your symbolic positioning, which is anchored in a master signifier. And so that's why he's saying, like, well, split subjectivity has always been the split between what symbolic mandate the master signifier, the name of the father, paternal authority, big other puts on me, and me going, wait a minute, you're telling me I'm that, but why are you telling me I'm that? Yeah. Why am I specifically that? And it's this gap between,
I'll show you, bitch.
I'll hystericize you. I'll show that you don't know what you're talking about in telling me what I am. And Sinthome gives up on that dynamic, which for Lacan, especially Zizek, is the elementary dynamic of split subjectivity.
Yeah. So
the Sinthome makes us an object.
Yeah, I was exactly just going to say that. Like it. Yeah. All right, we'll finish and then talk and complain a little bit more. The late Lacan's insistence on non-relation represents a step backward, both philosophically and politically. According to this late theory, the subject acquires coherence through its own particular syntome, and avoids the confrontation with the desire of the other. The interpretation of desire that the middle Lacan insists on gives way to a prohibition on interpretation when it comes to the syntome. While it is possible to discover a radical edge to the formulas of sexuation in the way that Joan Kopjek does, the syntome has no such bright side. It is a theoretical dead end because it treats the subject as an isolated entity. Its emergence indicates Lacan's abandonment of dialectics, which involves the confrontation of the subject with the failure of the social totality for the isolated subjectivity of liberalism. When the syntome appears in Lacan's philosophy, the radicality of his project disappears.
Well, how do you base a politics on syntome? It's snowflake. So every single person, the world should be organized around them as a singular entity, right? Like, you can't, it's anti-collectivity. Like, you don't, how do you pull collectivity out of, I mean, what we all identify as, radical singularities. The point is, it's just, it's, I don't know. It seems like Thanos. I'll break the world down so I can make it in my image. And that is sorry, like, look, when I want to emphasize, when we want to emphasize, people need more time, energy. That's not just for me.
Right.
Or people need have more money. Right. These are things we say, not just for my own idiosyncratic. No, there's a social dimension.
The world would be a
these types
better
of things.
place.
Yes.
If that were to come to pass.
We have more robust sociality.
Right.
More robust collectivity. Not perfect, not contradictionless, but better.
Yeah.
With these things. It's not just a idiosyncratic demand.
Well, we have fewer senseless acts of violence, fewer political feuds that encourage people to totalize and substantialize and objectify the other and scapegoat the other and accelerate radical solipsism to the point where, like, we're all just images on a screen and we're all just undifferentiated objects, and you can celebrate when someone is beaten to death on TV or shot to death on TV, or you can celebrate when someone, it's gross. It's like, no, I think taking this snowflake politics, this kind of snowflake essentialist view of the syntome, is definitely regressive. It's definitely a step back from actually trying to understand the human and subjectivity being like necessarily. I mean, it seems to me like Lacan is leaving language behind in a sense, because he's like, oh yeah, language and reference and totality.
Well, it's like he goes straight into the real.
Yeah,
it abandons the symbolic interpretation, and so and it's just like, okay, well, Capital One, it turned us into an object, and that's how the story ends. And it seems like a clinical defeatism.
Yeah.
And so I see why there's a lot to be.
Holy shit.
I think we get a lot more from sexuation. And I would even argue on behalf of the four discourses, more than this.
More than this, yeah. I would still say, so sexuation, yeah, similarly, I think I feel very similar to Todd on it. But also, yeah, I don't think Todd's throwing out sexuation. He's just saying, but also let's continue thinking about it before we fucking, let's not deposit this check in the bank yet. Let's continue working on it. And then the four discourses, I don't know, man. I've always been like a take it or leave it position. Now I think the discourse of the capitalist is, I mean,
it gets us to a dynamic that's true, I think.
Yeah, but could you even say that, like, do Lacanians care about the discourse of the capitalist, or do they care about the discourse? No, I don't think so.
No.
I think it's thinking about signification and subjectivity and superego and the social order, and like I think
Somebody
it's thinking
wants to
about that.
use
It's
the graphs to
yeah.
spark some original thinking and to get them to kind of flesh out what a new discourse could be, which is a new social. Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I mean, we figured out the capital superego link without that
Yeah.
referring to that matheme,
Yeah.
that cluster graph of mathemes. So, but look, there's other people who think if you want to defend the singularity of the subject, which we also want to do that in a different way.
Yeah.
Right. But if you want to take singularity of the subject as a good thing, then there's a way to, and I think so. Todd was supposed to co-author this book with Mari Rudy. Mari was a big defender of singularity of the subject. I think Todd told me she saw something like great in Sinthome and she was gonna write the part on Sinthome and not Todd, and it would have been drastically different if she had written it. But I'll just say that I see why Todd has a major problem with it. But look, everybody tune into the symposium this Saturday.
Yep.
Let's see how this goes, see what the critiques are like. You kind of got a sense of what I'm going to be talking about throughout the course of this conversation.
Be sick, dude. It's going to be sick.
So yeah, everybody tune in I guess I should know this. Sorry if I get this wrong, Daniel. I think it's on Daniel's YouTube channel, Emancipations
is
Daniel where it's going to be streaming. Yeah. So, yeah, but man, Nance, this is good. I didn't expect us to go this long tonight, but
yeah, dude, it was, yeah, I'm glad we got to read that. I am glad. So before we even started recording, we were talking, and I didn't want to talk about the Charlie Kirk thing because I do feel like it's kind of gross to talk about it. Now, you and I were talking about it, and that I think that was good because we were both kind of reflecting and sharing thoughts, but talking about it for real and then talking about it publicly on the internet, I think that's a little bit gross. But I do feel like I think it matters. Like I think right now, don't celebrate. This sucks. Things are going to get worse. I'm really scared of the response, of the escalation in like National Guard troops being deployed and like police and shit like that. And I'm also really scared of more political violence and more vigilante actors. Like it's not justice, dude. Don't go fucking marking people in the street, dude. That's not good. I don't give a fuck what they said or who they are or who you are or who the fuck you think you are. It's not good to kill people. It's not good to injure people. It's not good to, that's not good. That sucks.
It's perverted in the clinical. You think you know better than everybody else what's best for everybody else.
Yeah. But I'm glad we talked about it. It's a great episode, dude. It's going up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was fucking, we covered a lot of ground here.
Hell yeah.
Awesome.
On that note, peace out, everybody. We'll see you soon. Have a good night.
Later.
Don't drink yellow snow. Don't let the bed bugs bite. All that good shit.